also includes people in the community. He further said that the process doesn't involve rigging, and that's why the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission must be credible and trusted by the society.
The voters vote. Deep state also includes people in the villages. It goes up to the polling station. So it doesn't mean rigging. It doesn't necessarily mean rigging. No, I mean influence doesn't necessarily mean that you have to rig elections. But I think we're intelligent people. Citizens are also very keen to see that popular candidates win elections. And if the preferred candidate is going to continue to ensure continuity, either regime continuity or ideological continuity or material continuity or the status quo, whatever is preferred, that is likely to happen. That's why it's very important to have accountable systems, like a very credible IBC, a very credible voting system with the voting legislators. That would minimize negative influence on elections.
No cases of blood clotting have been reported since Kenya started administering vaccines against COVID-19. Health CS Rashid Aman told MPs the 5 vaccines being used are safe and have met the highest international health standards. He further said that only 2% of the population had been vaccinated because of vaccine hesitancy. Rashid, who appeared before the National Assembly's Health Committee, however, said that 633 Kenyans who've taken the jab have reported adverse effects as a result of the COVID-19 vaccine. He also said that those with mild reactions recovered with or without any interventions. 2 people have died after a boat they were traveling in sank in Lake Victoria. The boat was transporting 16 passengers before sinking about 500 meters from Pierre's Beach in Homa Bay. The boat was traveling from Homa Bay to Nduru Beach in Suba South's constituency, which is about 12 kilometers away. Homa Bay Township Chief Joshua Ochogo said 6 people had been rescued and a search operation for the remaining 8 is ongoing. The rescued 6 are currently receiving treatment at the Homa Bay Referral Hospital. And in business, Netflix has launched a free plan that will now allow entertainment fans to enjoy almost all of Netflix content on Android mobile phones without paying a subscription fee. The rollout of the free plan kicks off today and will only be available for people within the Kenyan territory. Netflix Director of Product Innovation Kathy Kong says the free plan will allow people in Kenya to access most of Netflix shows and films ad-free with personalized recommendations and parental controls. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in McQueen?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Social media was on fire.
Yes.
Every 5 or so minutes, some motorbike guy would come in, put his 20 bob plane, take off again. So I decided, let me put my 20 bob also and see. And I put 20 bob. It came. This is a dusty little village, and I'm thinking, there's slot machines in this place.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
Good morning. What are we looking at this Wednesday morning? Right in the middle of the week, and it seems that traffic is actually just picking up in most parts of the city today. On Mombasa Road, we do have some. In a few days, guys, it looks like traffic will be much better on Mombasa Road, but not just yet. On Jogo Road this morning, getting into the city, it's slow. Not too bad. As you spill over to Landis Road, Kamkunji is clear. Now is the time to experience the roundabout with no traffic. Coming out of Westlands, also building up. And we're looking at the thicker superhighway, likely to give you the promise of traffic. It's inching past the Utali Drift, but coming off of Kiambu Road, it's a breeze. The bypass is looking pretty good as well. If you want to use Langata Road, now is the time to do so. It's going to pack up in a very short while. So, early morning musings on the roads, not looking too bad this Wednesday. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. But for now, it's the time to be out. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Get in touch with us there, just in case, and text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is the way to start your day. So the day is about to begin. No, it's actually just begun. Very good morning to you and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, 9 minutes after 6 on the 22nd day of September 2021, the day after Parliament in all its glory made all the noise on behalf of the citizens of Kenya. How are you doing, City Muga?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
Yay.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank
you. Yeah. Ndu?
Yes.
Mambo.
Hosanna.
You're well?
I am.
Very good.
How are you?
Me, I'm very well.
You're well?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
I thank God.
I'm very happy to hear it.
Yeah, thank God.
It'd be like say Belle de ginger you.
Belle de ginger.
You.
You.
Now you say me.
Belle de ginger me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Belle is stomach.
Yes.
What is ginger?
Ginger is like, what does ginger do? It gives you a zing, right?
I don't know. Does it?
It does. Have you?
Gives me heartburn.
Okay, you. You.
So choose something else. Belle is something else.
Belle de pepper. No, pepper is not. We wouldn't use it like that. Almost ginger.
Okay.
Look,
so Belle de ginger you.
You're awake. You're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing we would say.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. City, how's your belly?
My what?
Belly.
I have a belly.
Good.
You have it, eh?
No, I'm just asking. I
Welcome.
have a belly.
Yes, you do now, Abba.
I do. Okay, what does it look like?
Now you go tell us. In office Abia must be day like this. Now you go tell us how they look.
Okay. So I have a belly. I don't know what it is. And so I don't know what it looks like, but you insist I have it. Okay. Good. Is it something I can talk to?
Belly is belly, stomach. You thought it was some amorphous thing, like
chi.
Like wealth.
I thought it was my chi. Because my chi I
so
can
is
talk to.
Your chi is somewhere hovering about.
My chi I can talk to. My belly is my belly.
Yes, belly. Pigeon is just
pigeon.
English with a few
Why
letters.
is it called
dropped.
pigeon?
Tell us now.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We will have interesting conversations today. So there's something that's happening at. We've been talking about hospitals around the country, lack of medicine and all, and then there's now fresh conversation that's about KNH. We've also been trying to see what's happening around the country in terms of accessing healthcare. People go to hospital, doctors. Well facilitated to do the work. We've seen some doctors taking onto social media and talking about lifts not working at KNH. What else is happening around the country? So that's one of the conversations we're going to have today. The other conversation is about the party, the Orange Democratic Movement Party. The Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, will be joining us at 8 o'clock. He'll tell us what they're doing. So first of all, when are they ever going to conclude that process that they began before any other political party of identifying the presidential candidate?
Are they going to surprise us? It's a surprise.
Yeah,
we have something in the books for cooking for you guys. Yeah.
ODM have a presidential candidate. The choice will shock you.
Don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah. he'll be here. We'll talk about that. Let's begin with COVID and the numbers.
Sure. 230 million is what we're looking at around the world. 230,313,402. Still looking at the fact that the top 10 countries in the world take up about 90% of the world's countries. Rather, 90% of the world's COVID cases is what we're looking at now. We're also looking at the fact that more and more vaccines are the talk of the day, and more countries are insisting that you do have what they're going to call authentication in order for you to travel. So there is a talk between the UK and Kenya at the moment that are we going to be able to approve you for the vaccines that you have been given in the country, even when you're coming. So the fact that it has to be a debate is what is a sore issue for a lot of people, that we have to talk about it, really, that we have to even say, please consider that we've gotten this vaccination. Would you not consider it coming out of Kenya? Okay, why are you hissing?
This story is just like, we said yesterday. It was even raised in the House of Commons by one of the MPs. And the minister was basically just responding and saying, yeah, we are going to look at this particular matter, how countries can onboard onto our system of allowing citizens to come to the country and to recognize the vaccine certificate. Why are we playing a whole back and forth about this?
You know, when I was a child,
Huh?
what we used to call them comic books, illustrated stories.
Yes.
And the ones I particularly liked about what was then referred to as Red Indians, who were actually Native Americans,
Yes.
right? And there is a phrase that was attributed to chieftains of that particular community, that then the Native Americans who were derogatorily known as Red Indians then.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they used to say: pale face speak with forked tongue. That was the reference to white people.
They're snakes, in other words.
Yes, meaning even now, pale faces are speaking with forked tongues, for heaven's sake. Is there any country that actually, with the exception of China and Russia, who are not really entirely pale-faced, in the pale-faced sense of the word pale-face, why are you kicking a fuss about a product that you are not only the originators of, but are the manufacturers? The fact that it's being manufactured in India doesn't make it an Indian. It's not an Indian product. No. So let them continue speaking with the forked tongue.
So yesterday, the CS Muthui Kagwe and the UK High Commissioner to Kenya, Jen Marriott, released a joint statement where they said, "We're both delighted that Kenya is off the UK's red list, which is the result of strong collaboration between our governments and the public health experts. There has been significant public concern about the issue of vaccine certification. We want to make it clear that both the UK and Kenya recognize vaccines administered in both countries, Oxford AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. It's false to state that vaccines administered in either country are unapproved. But establishing a system to mutually recognize each other's vaccine certificates for a vaccine passport program for travel takes time, particularly in an unprecedented pandemic. At present, neither country has compelled the process of recognizing the other country's vaccine certificates. We're working as fast as possible to ensure that this happens so that travel is as smooth as possible for our peoples." What have they said?
We're talking about it. That's what they said, basically.
No. They've said, let us put this in a way that doesn't sound like we are doing what we're really doing. Okay? So let's throw in complication. Let's throw in vaccine certification. Now we've moved from vaccine. We are talking about vaccine certification. And we are saying that when we streamline, this vaccine certification, then everybody will be okay. But it takes time. It's certification. We're not talking vaccine. Certification. Bank. It's like someone telling me that, this Kenyan passport of yours is not recognized in our country.
But we're looking at it, and maybe in
Yeah,
some time
We'll come up with a
we'll
universal
come up
way
let
of
you know
we
how
will.
you can,
passports,
you know.
blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
In the meantime, though, all right, what's happening to people who leave Kenya and land in the UK?
That they have to, if you have been fully vaccinated, you have to show proof of the same, or a negative test. And if you've only done one test, if your vaccination is not complete, then you must take a test on the 2nd day and the 8th day. So essentially, you must be quarantined for at least 10 days before then you go about your business. If you've been completely vaccinated, you're all right, as far as what they've said. But if you have only received the first dose, you must then show up for testing on day 2 upon arrival, and then day 8 thereafter.
But the High Commissioner had said people travelling from Kenya to the UK will no longer be required to hotel quarantine on arrival in the UK.
As of when?
Those are those who've been fully
This
vaccinated.
is yesterday's. No, just people travelling from Kenya to the UK will no longer be required to hotel quarantine on arrival in the UK. I'm reading a statement now from the British High Commission.
Yes.
We are committed to working with Kenya and other countries on the vaccine certification. But now what they're saying is arrival from Kenya to the UK, no hotel quarantine.
But
That-
other quarantine.
That's what I'm asking.
Hotel quarantine from other quarantine is totally different. And this is why I'm saying there is still the insistence that if you've only, like now, if you go and you received your first vaccination and you're going to the UK, my friend, it's not as though you go business as usual. It's not. You won't be allowed to, coming from Kenya.
But if you've had both
if you
vaccinations,
had both vaccinations, you're all right.
If you've had both vaccinations, you could be all right. However, the certificate is still not yet recognized. So whether you have both vaccinations, the only way to prove that you have both vaccinations is if you have a COVID certificate. This certificate is not yet recognized.
The one that you get from Kenya is not
Yes.
recognized there.
Unless you got vaccinated in the
which
UK.
countries don't have these problems with us? I'm thinking of countries to visit because clearly the UK is off the list.
Go to America.
Tanzania.
Thank you. That's Tanzania, Rwanda,
Yeah, Rwanda, you can go.
DRC.
You can go to Uganda.
It's about time one visited.
You can go to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And one's relatives in Nigeria. It's good.
It's good.
Important.
We're ready for you.
The thing is, everything that is being said would actually be considered to be the absolute truth, except it is coming in when other things have been said on this same subject, which are a little annoying. Okay? The UK had issues with COVID that we can't even dream of. They were putting people on the red list. Understandable, it's your country. You decide whether people go in or they don't go in. We get that. We understand it. All right? But what I don't understand, and this is my sole point, what was this nonsense about this vaccine that doesn't, only a certain type of vaccine is considered to be
There's an AstraZeneca vaccine that is
not really AstraZeneca vaccine.
So let's take this break at this point. 21 after 6. We're live streaming on SpiceFM KE. Where are you? In a country? Which part of the country? Are you outside the country? Which part of the globe are you in? With thank you very much for tuning in this morning. Say hello. We'll be recognizing and acknowledging you shortly. It's 21 after 6. Time for us to take a look at the weather forecast for today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Wasingishi was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 16. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 13. Nakuru is mostly cloudy at 14, highs of 25 and lows of 13. 14 will be the low in rainy Nyeri this morning, highs of 23. In Eldoret, we're looking at clear conditions at 12. Highs of 23, back down to lows of 12 today. Kisumu, light rain at 19 in some parts, highs of 29 and lows of 19, coming off a heavy downpour yesterday. And we're looking at Kakamega this morning, clear at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 14. Mombasa this morning is cloudy. We'll see some light rain at some point this morning. 29 will be the high and lows of 23. Malindi, clear at 23, highs of 29 and lows of 23, also expecting some rain later. All right, let's look out into Kampala. We're at light rain as well at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 19. Dar es Salaam is mostly clear, highs of 31 and lows of 22. Johannesburg, 10 degrees and cloudy, highs of 22 and lows of 8. Lagos at 25 is a rainy morning, highs of 29 and lows of 25. We have clear conditions in Kinshasa, going to highs of 32 down to lows of 22. Out in Beijing, sunny conditions at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Paris is clear at 10, highs of 20, back down to lows of 10. And London, clear skies at 13, highs of 23 today. New York, still Tuesday night, 22 degrees and cloudy. Coming into Wednesday, highs of 23, back down to lows of 22.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We are live streaming from Nairobi to the world. And if you don't believe me, just listen to this.
The world is tuning in. Mogadishu, Somalia, Sudan, here in Nairobi, in Kibera. Nairobi, David is there. Nams is in Somalia. Nagenya is here in Pipeline. Alusa Jr., also tuned in. Sky T. Karish, good morning, people. Nixon Otieno is tuned in from South Sea. Garissa County tuned in, that's where Ledama is. And Moses Gashari is tuned in as well. Ezekiel Zabuk is tuned in from Nigeria. He says Nigeria is in the building, indeed the world. King Joe is tuned in from Nakonde, Zambia at the Tunduma border. Good morning, great ones. Tuned in from Malindi, Magarini. That's where Javan Khalifa is. He says, blessed day, keep doing the good work on behalf of the Kenyan think tank, Asante Sana. Evans Cherutoy tuned in from Nakuru. Raphael is also tuned in this morning. He said, Bele de Ginjaram. Very good. You woke up fine. Well done. Ondicho says, good morning, lady and gentlemen. Good morning to you too. Estella is tuned in from Lusaka. The Lusaka of Zambia.
Mm-hmm.
I say Lusaka.
Not Lusaka Road.
Not Lusaka Road.
Okay.
The Lusaka, the real Lusaka.
And not Speaker of the Senate.
No, not that one. Ombonya is tuned in from Bondo. And guess where else this morning? Lolit Rosso is tuned in from Boya in Cameroon and says, love your show a lot, Asante. On the other side of the world, Sydney, Australia, is where Esther is tuned in from. And from Maua, I love the sound of that word, Maua. That's where Ed Gitonga is tuned in from this morning.
Meru.
It's in Meru, right?
Lakini Ed.
He's all over. Maua.
Yes, he's in the transport business. In
Wow.
fact,
he saw 3 days no work in Nyeri.
It's not possible. Let's go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
He's a transport nomad.
Yes. Transport can't be transport if there's no movement. Huh?
No, it cannot. Stanley is asking, speaking of transport, did the Luya proverb on flight, CTM land, CTM being CT Muga? That's the flight. The Luya proverb, did it land?
No.
No?
I actually went proverb seeking yesterday. I didn't quite succeed, but there is a promise that I will get a proverb this evening. So tomorrow, ask that question and you will receive a response in the affirmative.
Stanley Stan, ask that question tomorrow. Mukwana Kagota is tuned in this morning and loves the show. Asante, I can see all of you. My goodness, the world is literally tuned in. Shemongwai, Abutwata, Mumbe Feli, Gymnast Junior, Vincent Ogutu, we see you guys. Abdi Kadir Abdallah tuned in as well. Patrick Agoyason tuned in from Mombasa. We see you all and thank you for joining us.
Karibuni sana, everybody. CT. So what is today's proverb? Where is it from?
This is an African proverb.
Okay.
A man who pays respect to the great paves his own way for greatness.
A man who pays respect
to the great,
paves his own way
for greatness.
Oh, the great city.
That's Eric paving way for his own greatness.
Yes. So this one is an African one.
African, complete, absolute.
Okay. So let's take a look at the newspaper headlines. Today, there's a special report in the Standard. All right. Pages 6, 7, and 8 are dedicated to the competency-based curriculum. A bittersweet test for parents, teachers, and the learners and all. And tonight on KTN News, are you a parent? Are you a teacher? A stakeholder in the education sector? This is when you want to switch over to KTN News tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. because Transform Kenya will be unpacking the contentious CBC curriculum, the elephant in the room. The host moderator is Laban Cliff Onserio, and the panelists, Wilson Sosion, former Secretary General KNUT, who's also a Member of Parliament, Professor Leban Ayiro, Vice Chancellor of Daystar University, Eva Naputuni, the Chair, Special Needs Education Subcommittee in the Kenya Private Schools Association, and there will be other members as well of the panel, selected audience, all here to unpack these contentious issues around Kenya's biggest debate, the CBC. So, page 6, 7, 8 of the Standard today. It starts with page 6, a bittersweet test for parents, teachers, and the learners in CBC. Looking at the implementation of the CBC so far, what has happened. Many schools lack classrooms, children learn under trees in some areas. Implementation of CBC requires that every child should have a seat and access to a desk. Movement of families in the pastoralist regions from one area to another in search of water and pasture complicates CBC rollout. That's in one part of the country. In other parts of the country, it is working well. In parts of Homa Bay County, teachers are saying, we are only implementing CBC to keep our jobs. Because this man Magoha has insisted that we do it. Okay, sawa. Then we are going to do it. They said they were being coerced by the Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha to implement the new curriculum, yet they lack the capacity. They identified lack of training to effectively implement the new curriculum as a key shortcoming. Even those who were training us lacked mastery of the curriculum. At times when we're asking questions, they tell us to take things the way they were presented because they also don't know. So remember, it started with training of trainers for CBC rollout. Then they started going around the country, now training the teachers. Now it sounds like the trainers who were going to train the teachers had not completely grasped the content of this training. So when a teacher would ask a question that, sasa hiyo, where tutajua tukiendelea, just take it the way I've told you. Okay. The trainer was just regurgitating what has been taught. Education officials who sit in offices say CBC implementation is taking place smoothly. But the truth of the matter is that things are different on the ground. CBC has failed in schools. This is according to Patrick Quere, KNUT Homa Bay Secretary, who says CBC has no future. He's also the head teacher of Gendia Primary School, and he cites lack of resources in schools, high teacher-to-pupil ratio are some of the challenges. What the government needs to know is that this curriculum requires a teacher to attend closely to a pupil, but the teacher-pupil ratio of one teacher to 90 pupils is defective. It's a fact that teachers are implementing the curriculum to protect our pay slips, but we're not doing it for academic development of the children. No.
Isn't that a bit worrisome? If that's even the sentiment that's coming out from very few, even if it's a small percentage of teachers in an isolated part of the country, if that is true, that is what they're saying and what they feel, unfortunately, it's to the loss of the student. Because, and I've said it from the very beginning, I believe that the curriculum, this CBC, as we're looking at it, is actually a good, sound, solid curriculum. What would affect it is the manner in which it is being implemented and the structure behind all of this, the platform upon which it's being delivered could be the one that would affect it. Right? And if that is the attitude then, and then you're delivering this learning and education to students in this country, we have a problem there.
Start with just a regular, normal well understood, documented human response to change. Okay?
That's in fact, that's the basic of our problems.
Start there. It's resistance.
Oh, yes.
Okay, just change.
Why
were you changing this then?
It just sounds too difficult.
Were children not learning before? Did they not go to secondary school? Did they not go to university? Why are you changing? And yet, it's not just the education system. Every system known to mankind has to change with time.
Yep.
It has to accommodate the needs of the times.
Even our constitution changed, surely.
Yes. And that constitution changed many things.
Yep.
And we welcomed it. Yet there were people who also didn't want the new constitution. Okay? Once in a while, they may point at things that they consider benefit, but they don't. Now, you cannot ignore what the people who are implementing something as serious as the curriculum are saying. But if you were to take the CBC just as it is, and you do not wish to apply any ingenuity given your circumstances, or looking at the practicability of how it is you can actually implement it with the limited resources that you have. If you're waiting for resources to come in, if you're waiting for more money to come in, then this thing may not be implemented. Do you know why? There's never enough money.
It's never enough.
And for us to implement CBC, we must work with that on that ratio, 1 to 90. It'll take time.
Yes.
It'll take quite some time. I think the biggest issue here, like you said, City, one is change. Everybody just resists change from the very beginning. And especially that change is not being explained. If you don't get people on board first before you tell them now, press the go button, you're going to have a problem. And maybe that's what is happening here. From the very beginning, the teachers' unions, the various teachers' bodies were not feeling like they needed this change, or they were not feeling like they're being involved in the conversations around it. So remember, Sosion and the others at that point were up in arms saying, no, we can't start it now, we can't do this and the other. Amina Mohammed, when she was CS, in fact, she had to postpone the commencement of this, and then it was brought in back again. Why? Adequate stakeholder engagement.
You know, Eric, do you remember how it is we point fingers at the government about their lack or absence of adequate communication? Huh? Actually, it's a national malady. You know why? Just think of any situation where there seems to be conflict. You'll find at the heart of it, somehow there wasn't adequate communication. And now there wasn't also adequate stakeholder participation. This problem that you're seeing with the university, everything the university is doing is not difficult to explain. But you will find that this thing called stakeholder participation, where people are told in advance, you are given the documentation, you read it, so that by the time you're talking about it going to the various processes up to the Senate, people have understood it. No, it arrives at you when it's fully digested. And then you're wondering, but so-and-so. You know, our main problem here is we don't have enough students. And this is an institution of learning. Should we not consider how we can get more students to come in to learn?
Because everybody has an opinion. And they feel, if you have never given me an opportunity to just air my opinion, however stupid it may be,
then
even if I wasn't prepared, I'll come up with an opinion.
Yes. And you're telling me, and this is an institution of higher learning where everybody believes that they are knowledgeable.
Oh, of course.
Huh?
Yes.
Kwani, you think your professorship is better than mine? And we all got it from the same university. Now, so what takes center stage, if you look carefully, is not the main issues, but the politics of it.
The politics.
So we're dealing with the abstract issues, and the main issues have completely been ignored. In this case, there is a student who needs to be taught. In the university, there are students. In the absence of students, whether it is in primary school or the university, teachers are irrelevant. Completely relevant. But they think they're the ones who must be relevant. And every once in a while you throw in the student. But the students.
But but the teacher-pupil ratio. But you see, the pupils are not.
Okay, that's your reality.
Yes.
Can you find a way of coping with it?
Work with it.
Yes.
23 to 7. Time for a break. Let's take a look at the traffic and then we look at more headlines. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 1 hash to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
The opportunities are here. Project X, the biggest youth empowerment project in Africa for young creatives, is here. Are you a model, a fashion designer, or a performing artist? Then this is the opportunity you have been waiting for. Register now for the opportunity of a lifetime by following at Opportunities Are Here on Instagram and the Opportunities Are Here on Facebook for more information and the registration link. Online selections begin on the 12th of October and registration closes on the 22nd of October. The Opportunities Are Here is a project by the Ethical Fashion Initiative in partnership with the European Union. Project X is co-produced by KTN Home and Vibes Radio.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz.
All right, starting to build up in most parts of the city where it was quiet before. Definitely is not the case right now. It has built up quite some on Mombasa Road. ICD is providing good option for folks who are not going to stick to that mess that is going on between Sabaki and the SGR. So that Imara Daima turnoff will confuse a lot of people a little bit this morning, but after General Motors, I don't think we have an issue with traffic. The Southern Bypass looking pretty good. And the madness has also begun on Langata Road this morning. It hasn't quite yet reached the Timor roundabout, but it will. Aerodrome Road also then leading towards the Bunyala Road roundabout on Huru Highway. Not bad right now. Langata Road also out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Looks pretty good. Coming off Jogo Road into the city, looks like a breeze. Inbound, not so much. Landis Road not looking too bad until you get roundabout the Kamkunji area. Coming out of Westlands is a thing this morning. Coming off of the Thika Superhighway as well. Traffic has built up in the last half an hour, quite significantly so. Kiambu Road is also joining that foray. Getting into the city then looks like an exercise with sweat today. But we'll keep an eye on things today. Help us out, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. I think we can keep things moving without too much of a problem today.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
I am looking at an article on page 9 of the Standard. Parents joy as ministry gets child-friendly HIV medicine. Now, for the longest time, the medication that is given to children, the HIV medication that is given to children, was the same as the adults. Of course, the formulations would be different, strength would be different, but it more or less was the same, tasted the same. Now, what has long been acknowledged, recognized, and understood is that a lot of what children take, and whether they accept it or not, it has to do with what it tastes like. This African adult thinking and feeling and belief that medicine by its very nature must taste foul is something that doesn't really work with children. This ARV is called DTG. The name is the Dolutegravir. I'm saying it slowly so that you get it. Dolutegravir. Now, this particular ARV comes with flavors. Flavor. But more importantly, it's in granules. So it can be mixed with food, it can be mixed with water.
Juice.
Yes. So children can take it in. And it's only administered once a day. Okay? Now, the Ministry of Health received 775,000 packs of this. And this was a source of great joy because it is hoped that they will get more in the future, but this is a beautiful new beginning.
Indeed.
Yes. But it follows a push that has been there for quite some time with people who deal with some of these ignored diseases or diseases that people think shouldn't be given much purview. This push to try and ensure that the drugs are, should we say, easily acceptable, more so to children. Yes. And the granule formulation has been found to be one of the most effective way of giving it to children. So it's the same drug, but the formulation.
I think it's a great thing, and then that has come. I think it's fantastic. I just think of the cocktail of medicines that people who are living with HIV have to take. And we're talking about a lifelong thing until a cure is found. And then imagine that you have to subject children to the same thing. And so now I think this is a huge, huge step in having that sorted out for them, where they take it once a day, and it comes with, their favorite thing or something that they have to do anyway, like eat, mixed into food, mixed into porridge, that kind of thing is good.
But something I should mention just in passing, that this is attributed to Andrew Muller,
yes,
Director of Medical
made the
Services.
announcement yesterday.
Yes,
yeah.
That what we've done since 2009, we have actually reduced the infection of children, HIV infection, by 75%.
That's great.
Laudable, absolutely.
No. The strides that the Ministry of Health has made with regards to HIV are actually commendable on a global scale. Very, very commendable.
Yep.
So that is reduction in mother-to-child transmission.
Yes.
Yes. That's good.
Yep.
Yes.
So, if Lands Cabinet Secretary Farida Karaneh decided to sack all corrupt workers at her ministry, then she would have almost no one left to serve Kenyans.
Really?
Yes.
Let her do it. We'll take up the jobs.
There are so many Kenyans who are unemployed, surely.
But do they know anything
Do
about it?
they know how to do this work?
And these people who work there, did they know it when they went there? No, they learned. So these are people who can also learn.
Perhaps when we see her again, we should make the suggestion to her. Anyway.
Why is she thinking of firing everyone?
She's bang in the middle of converting millions of dusty, worn-out papers that Kenyans treasure as title deeds into credible digital documents that can be used as evidence of property ownership and underwrite billions of shillings worth of transactions across the country. She, therefore, needs the what? The honest input of each and every worker at Arthi House, the Lands Ministry headquarters in Nairobi, but the corruption cartels are out to sabotage her efforts. We have looked at this reform, looked at the mess we have created at the ministry over the years, the gaps in data, the gaps in management, all these things. And we came to the conclusion that if we took the punitive approach, this reform will not go through. If you were to look for people to punish for the mistakes that have been happening in the ministry, then I'm afraid you might be left with no one to do the reforms, she said. Because in one way or another, we have all committed errors of omission or commission. After about 3 years of painstaking design and development of the new National Land Management Information System, a system meant to capture, update and relay live land-related data, land transactions in Nairobi went digital, and the CS's problems with the cartels started. Because this system essentially is supposed to be open, transparent. You input your information, you go through the process. Now, there is an element of secrecy and fraud that can be carried through when you have a piece of paper, right? Can be forged.
Very manual system.
Yes, manual system.
Files
it allows the
disappear,
corruption
blah,
to
blah.
continue,
Right.
right? So if we are involved in this play of corruption, we like the paper, the hard paper that you can touch. We don't like the system where everybody can see. And that's what she's fighting. And that's when the fight with the cartels began, according to her. The digitalization of this system, she knew was going to bring a war.
This digitalization is infinitely more dangerous than moving around with paper. You know, paper, you have to move with it, it's one. Digitalization, if you find someone clever enough, just these cartels are full of probably lazy people who don't want to think. That system, there is no system. Let's start with no system is unhackable. Just start there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, until and unless the ministry can tell us, without any shadow of doubt creeping in, that you have a foolproof system. You heard me say this even when the minister was here.
Yeah.
My friend, if this system is gotten into, the problems you have with the paper will be child's play.
It's
Let me
okay,
tell you what
Siti,
she
but,
said.
okay, it's true. Okay, say what
I'll
she
tell
said.
you what she said.
Yes.
She has no doubt
Eh.
that the system is the silver bullet for the land problems in Kenya.
Yes.
Despite initial hitches that she admitted would need to be addressed. She disclosed that the land information system, whose application was stopped on the 4th of June, was being hacked and people corrupting records. Now, this current system, she says, is the most secure system in government. She says, remember, we are coming from a space where people were altering and destroying records. People were actually stealing files and documents out of government premises. So based on the history, we built a system to address these challenges. So now this is what you're talking about, where she's saying, look, this is one of the most secure that the government of Kenya has.
I hear what you're saying, Siti. I'm a proponent for the digitalization of this system.
As am I.
I'll tell you why. I think it'll take us a step closer to having some sense of surety. What we're dealing with today is multiple title deeds issued. You go to Athi House, somebody has already taken that file and produced a duplicate or triplicate of the same title deeds. And if you go back, you cannot trace, so who is the last person who accessed this file? With digital, you'll be able to track.
You will leave a footprint. Yes.
You'll leave a footprint of who was the last person who interacted with this particular file. So that is one. It increases that transparency.
Accountability.
And then also, it makes it easier for you to transact. You don't have to, keep moving up and down. Going to Athi House, going to this and the other office. You sit, you access the system, you see query. Does CT Muga actually own this piece of land that he wants to sell me? You get that information. All right, so I have got into the agreement with CT Muga. CT Muga gets into the system. CT Muga transfers the land. I get into the system. I accept the transfer. It is...
Land is too emotive an issue for it to be entirely digital.
There's going to be human interaction at some point. But
Yes,
it's just that we need to reduce the human interaction.
No, reducing, I'm all for it.
Okay.
I am all... By the way, what the minister mentioned here was delightful news. It's excellent. The only thing is this. Understanding that it's a work in progress, but understanding, again, that the human element has to come in at some point. You see, we are going to digitalize whether people like it or not. We'll find that at some point the police force will also be digitalized. It's upon us.
Yeah, the judiciary is getting digitalized.
Yes, it's upon us.
Right.
So my concern is that system in and of itself is never really the problem. The problem is us.
The humans.
Yes. In this country, you can find the very people who developed it turned rogue. Then you have a real problem on your hands. You see where I'm coming from? Okay. I think we can now look at something else.
Let me take you to Gatundu. Gatundu South and Gatundu North once used to be Gatundu constituency.
So just Gatundu full stop.
It was Gatundu, the end. And the MP for Gatundu was one Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the end. Between 1962 and 1979, they only had one MP, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Were there elections in Gatundu? No.
But why do you have elections when people unanimously accept that you must be the MP?
Yeah. I mean, who would dare stand up and challenge Jomo Kenyatta,
You
right?
have an election when there's more than one person who wants that seat, but there was never.
Yes.
Who wants?
You can want it quietly.
You can want it quietly. Just don't come out and want it.
Yes.
Yes. So Mzee died in August 1978. In 1979, there was now a general election. And there was going to be tough contest in this particular constituency. So the main candidates were Gengi Muigai, business tycoon Zakaria Gakunju, trade unionist and journalist Wangohu Nganga. There was a particular piece of road called, it comes from a place called Gatukoyo, goes into Gitwamba and to Matara. This road is only 38 kilometers long, and it's important because one of the two earliest tea factories in this country is in a place called Matara Tea Factory, which was opened by Jomo Kenyatta when he was Prime Minister in 1963. Now, accessing this tea factory, there are only two, I told you. The other one is in Ragati, it's in Nyeri. So Matara Tea Factory, one of the oldest independent small tea factories for smallholder farmers, does not have access to Tarmac Road.
But the factory is there.
Factory is there. Now, what happened? In that election of 1979, the campaigns of 1979, everybody from Gengi Muigai to Zakaria Gakunju to Wangoho Nganga said, let me tell you guys, give me the vote and take me to parliament.
This road.
I swear.
Carpet.
There's a gentleman who is called Nehemiah Ngumo. He is now Mzee. He was 30 years old in 1979. He says that road was not tarmacked. It did not happen in the next 5 years, or even by 1988 for the Mlolongo elections when Gengi lost to Gakunju. It did not happen. In the next 20 years, it has not happened. Just as we were about to give up, Jubilee comes, and in 2015, the president says, commission this road. It's going to happen. 2015. We're in 2021.
6 years later.
Construction of the road started under President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the MP who used to be the MP for Gatundu South. Now this part is in Gatundu North. The pace of construction has been exceedingly slow, and the earthworks make maneuvering the road in rainy water a nightmare. Residents have been taken for a ride on this project for too long in the name of broken promises. Every MP between 1978 and 2013 has come and said, the one thing you can be sure of, this particular road, Gatukuyu Matara Road, will be complete. What are those promises of Australia in 6 months' time? We are talking about how many years? Since independence.
40 years.
When the Prime Minister opened this particular thing, Prime Minister became President,
60 years
stayed,
ago.
died, new MP came, Gengi, was defeated by Gakunju, was defeated by...
President
Everybody's been making the same promise.
Constituency was split.
You see,
that road.
There's something here that must be said about that road. What Jomo didn't do, Uru is now doing. Okay? So the promise has been kept.
Yeah, he's delivering on the promise.
He's delivering on the promise.
That is if this road will actually become... There's a photo in the Standard on page 21. There's no road, basically.
It's just land.
It's a piece of earth.
You must have faith, Chief.
If this road is going to be complete by next year, at least, the people here, the current MP is Wanjiku Kibe. She lists the project as among the ongoing projects in her constituency.
It is ongoing. It is certainly ongoing.
It's ongoing.
When it has been dug up like this one here, it is ongoing. When it rains, the mud will be ongoing. So, and the possibility or the impossibility of the road will also be ongoing. I think steps have been taken many decades later, but steps have been
taken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
you
in
cannot.
what direction these steps
It's a
have
journey
been
of
taken?
1,000,000 miles.
It starts with
one
yes.
step.
By the way, you know why I smile when you're mentioning those areas, Matara, Gitwamba. When I was a young man in this city, there was a bar called Gitwamba Bar.
Yes.
Little did I know, it was known for selling Moratina. Little did I know that Gitwamba was actually a place.
It's a place.
Today,
the guy who opened the bar in Nairobi
must have been. He must have come.
He must have come. He used to walk on this dirt road to bring his Moratina to the bar.
Can you imagine his bar is still here? He built a bar and yet there's no road.
Okay. Yes, tell us something else.
So, irrigation projects in Turkana. Remember, there was some time ago we talked about being able to then now irrigate farms and then look at produce coming out using the water from the lake. But now those projects are in ruins as Turkana faces starvation. 215 kilometers north of Lodwar is the once vibrant Kaikor drip irrigation scheme that provided a glimmer of hope in the fight against perennial hunger in the semi-arid Turkana County. The project, an initiative of the Kenya Red Cross, interestingly enough, and the Kenyans for Kenya Steering Committee, was commissioned in July 2013 and sought to build community resilience and enhance food security. It targeted 3 villages with a total population of 15,000. It collapsed a short time later, and 6 years since, the county has more than 600,000 people in dire need of relief food, according to the National Drought Management Authority. Ironically, Kaikor is amongst the worst hit where this irrigation system was domiciled. Locals are nostalgic about those days of plenty. The irrigation scheme provided plenty of food and income for the past for 3 years, rather. But since its collapse, they reverted to the old life of food dependence. For them to eat, they depend entirely, not a little bit, entirely on relief food today in Kenya. Life has been challenging since the scheme collapsed because we can't grow food crops, which also served as our source of income when we sold the surplus. Now, in this day of biting drought, things have been made a lot worse because even if they were able to get water, food somewhere, now that has all disappeared.
Wow.
But even before this current drought that we are in, they depended entirely on relief food. Every single day of
Nothing
feeding
grows
was
there.
relief. Nothing grows there.
In this country?
Yes. The hardest hit is the place where the irrigation scheme was set up.
So what happened to the irrigation scheme, really, specifically?
It definitely...
They dug up boreholes to irrigate, or were they using some natural well?
So where there was natural waters that flowed in Kaikor, but at the same time, what happened is that they did sink a borehole. The schemes used quite a lot of money, but the initiative was set up by the Kenya Red Cross and community of Kenyans.
Yep.
But
that's a place where we did. But the story of what happened with the Kenyans for Kenya project and the contributions by Kenyans is all up in the air, because you'll find some stories showing some nice green area and some vegetables and communities who were there farming, and they say this came as a result of the Kenyans for Kenya project. Others, like now this one, where they started and they basically did not go anywhere. They became a complete cropper.
Interesting, because what they're attributing this loss to is the weather patterns, which now made things difficult. So because we're looking at the area where 12 boreholes were actually sunk.
So it's a place, it's just basically, it was a project that was taken to the wrong place.
Yes, unfortunately, because the waters have dried up.
Wow.
The waters have dried up.
Okay. Keep it right here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. This is the Situation Room, broadcasting from Nairobi. George Neto is now in Addis Ababa. George, you've not been in Addis Ababa. You've been tweeting us from somewhere else. Where has that been? But okay, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Enjoy your day in Addis Ababa. Somebody else is in Kaptumek, Adai. Mwalimu Tarus. Very good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The number of people who've died in road accidents this year is actually higher than that recorded over a similar period last year. A survey by NTSA has revealed that there was a 25% increase in fatalities as of yesterday. Reckless driving, dangerous overtaking, drunk driving, drunk walking, drunk riding and failure to use helmets, among other issues, have been attributed to the increase. Between January and September this year, some 3,212 people have died in accidents, an increase of 652 over the same period last year. Of those who've died this year, 1,111 are pedestrians, 311 drivers, 520 passengers, 318 pillion passengers, 61 pedal cyclists, and 891 motorcyclists. It may take some time before Kenyans are allowed to travel to the UK using their vaccination certificates, despite the country lifting the travel ban. In a joint statement, Health CS Muthui Kagwe and British Ambassador to Kenya Jane Marriott indicated that Kenyans travelling to the UK and travellers from the UK to Kenya would still be required to stay in quarantine for some time until the two countries agreed on how to issue immunisation certificates. Earlier during the ban, Kenyans travelling to the UK were required to pay 350,000 shillings for temporary quarantine accommodation. However, after Kenya was removed from its red list, Kenyans will now only have to quarantine for 10 days before embarking on the activities that made them travel. Governor Francis Kimemia, former head of public service and influential operative in the Kibaki administration, has lifted the lead on the system and revealed what it can do in the event of a closely fought presidential candidate. Kimemia, while being interviewed on a local TV station, revealed that it's too hard to defeat a popular candidate backed by the state. He, however, said the candidate must be credible and have a good relationship internationally.
the state exists, but I can assure you it could be deeper than deep. I mean, honestly, if you have two candidates, say at the rate of 50-50, and the deep state backs one, you can be sure that that one will win the election. And I don't need to say much. But there's something else we're also ignoring. And I said the candidate must be credible and electable. And that becomes very, very important, even if the deep state were to support a candidate. But we are forgetting also the international arm. This country has a lot of interests from the international, and they also influence a lot. I can assure you from where I sat, they influence a lot. Oh, in many ways that I can't discuss here, but many ways. So if they combine with the so-called deep state, you can be sure your goose is cooked.
Kimemia, however, said that deep state also includes people in the community. He further said that the process doesn't involve rigging, and that's why the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission must be credible and trusted by the society.
Deep state also includes people in the villages. It goes up to the polling station, so it doesn't mean rigging. It doesn't necessarily mean rigging. No, I mean influence doesn't necessarily mean that you have to rig elections, but I think we're intelligent people. Citizens are also very keen to see that popular candidates win elections, and if the preferred candidate is going to continue to ensure continuity, either regime continuity or ideological continuity or material continuity or the status quo, whatever is preferred, that is likely to happen. That's why it's very important to have accountable systems, like a very credible IBC, a very credible voting system with the voting registers. That would minimize negative influence on elections.
4 members of one family who perished when their house caught fire in Mashuru, Kajiado County on the 2nd of this month were finally laid to rest. The mother, her 3 children and a house help were buried after the results of the DNA came out. During the emotional send-off of the 4 members, mourners called on the police to investigate the cause of the inferno. The house help, only identified as Alice, was buried at her home in Muthui County. The burial of the 5 was delayed due to the autopsy and DNA results.
Kwa njia ya uzito ndio ijulikane kwa hakika the cause of the fire, ndio tusiache hii familia kama wameumia na hakuna njia ya kupata usaidizi au kupata haki yao.
Uchunguzi huo uendelee, ufanywe to its conclusive end, maana kupoteza watu 5 si jambo la mzaha.
And in business, Airtel has linked a deal with Wild Remit that will allow its subscribers to receive money from 129 countries, a move aimed at boosting the telco's efforts to increase its shares of the local money market. The deal will enable about 400,000 Airtel Money users to receive funds directly and without charges in their mobile wallets and carry out in-app payments for goods and services globally. Countries covered under the deal will, with the London-based fintech, include the United States of America, which is the largest source of diaspora remittances to Kenya, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, South Africa and Australia. And finally, a 5.8 magnitude earthquake has rattled southeast Australia, damaging buildings in the city of Melbourne. The earthquake happened about 9:15 local time on Wednesday at Mansfield, not far from the Victorian state capital. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said they had no reports of serious injuries. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubage.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Heavy traffic on Mombasa Road inbound the city this morning. Where else are we looking at? Thika Superhighway has built up. That place I told you on Jogo Road that was free, not so much anymore. Jam-packed, getting towards the city. And then at that Kalolini junction, headed out towards the City Stadium roundabout, packed as well. And this whole packing is now packing onto Landis Road, packing into the city. So that's the word for the day, packed. Everywhere you look, basically this morning. Coming off of Kiambu Road now, it is hot and heavy getting to the junction at the Muthui Square. Coming in from traffic on Survey. Coming out of Parklands, Limuru Road. Absolutely crazy today. Into the CBD, everywhere you look. Traffic. So, are we in the middle of traffic hour? Yes, we are. Will we get out of it without a scratch? That is the point that we want to make sure we do. But so patience is needed as we go through the city today. We'll keep looking at it. Let us know if we do get stuck somewhere. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The
7
only
past
way.
7, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the second hour. Yes, Denis has actually even sent a photo
Yes, of where he
from
is.
Bola International Airport. My guy, I'm in Addis. Okay, Sawa. We believe you. We believe you, George Neto. City, what is today's proverb?
A man who pays respect to the great paves his own way for greatness.
A man who pays respect to the great paves his own way for greatness. Okay. That's a good one.
Greatness is a shared commodity.
It is, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Start and then you shall receive.
Something like that.
Okay. You know, as you're talking about traffic, Ndu, page 3 of the Standard, you can read, maybe there's some update there of what's happening on the expressway.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
contractor set to open closed sections under construction Mombasa Road. This
Right.
is what is set to happen. Traffic is expected to ease after the contractor opens sections under construction on Mombasa Road and Wayaki Way to motorists in the next 10 days. How many? 10. According to Kenha, the acting director general, David Muchilwa, said interventions that have been put in place to ensure relative ease of movement and safety for motorists include the opening of various completed sections of the Nairobi Expressway to traffic to give way for works on the existing highway. That's the 104. Sections to be open to motorists include the road between the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Mlolongo Town, which will be fully opened between Westlands and James Gishuru Road along Wayaki Way. So that whole section where you're driving along and you see this whole road, why can't we use it now? Those parts will be opened. Whether it's been excavated and they've put on the new tarmac and some of these other fancy things.
Which roads will be
Will be opened.
Where? How many? Where are those sections? I know there's one that we use between Airtel and.
So now we're talking about between Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Mlolongo, the entire
section.
midsection
Is it
that has been
complete?
closed for the well, it is as we speak right now. This moment at 7:09, is not complete. But according to Kenha, in the next 10 days, it will be complete. So the reason why there's been all this traffic is because that entire section has been closed, and you had one lane inbound and one lane outbound, right? So now we're looking at that section being opened.
All right.
And it will ease traffic.
You know,
this is what we've been told, though.
Kenya ought to get into a partnership with some publishing firm, and they should start publishing children's fairy tales.
They'll make a lot of money.
They would. They should. They actually should.
Let me tell you something else. So, he's noted that other sections to be open, I'm just adding more sugar, are along Imaradaima. So this part that's always causing this madness right here. To motorists along Imaradaima, the Airtel lane that you were talking about right now that's currently shut off.
Right.
And lanes that were closed at Syokimau and Mlolongo. Those sections will all be opened. The improvement of 2 directional U-turns at various points such as Mlolongo and blocking illegal U-turns that cause congestion and the continuous watering of the construction sites to reduce the rise of dust will also continue. Now, when you say that the continuous watering will continue, in order for something to be continuous, it must have started, no? Am I just talking about
no, it can't continue if it doesn't exist.
So what are you saying? It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, my brother. My dear friend.
There's no watering.
Let me just repeat. In order for something to continue, it must be there. It must have started at some point. It cannot be continuous if it didn't start.
I'm seeking a point of information here. Are we still completing this works in January?
By mid.
You're going very far. They've told you that in the next
early
10
next
days,
year.
these sections. No.
I think it'll be complete. I think, in fact, I was looking at that road. I think between now and February next year, the structure of the expressway will be complete.
Now and January.
The skeleton, at least. And they will just be
where there's viaduct, the elevated road,
complete.
It will be complete.
Complete means we can use it.
It's
I'm
like
saying
it's
the
like the
structure-
house that
the
you're
structure
building.
will be done.
The structure is like the house that you're building. You don't have the.
If you haven't put
you've
furniture,
not
those
put
are things.
furniture.
Okay.
You've not painted, but you can live in the house.
All
it's
right.
habitable.
All right, folks.
You're not even done
All right,
plaster.
folks. Let me give
Still
Kenna
fetching water
the
outside.
benefit of doubt.
Not running through the tap.
Even in January, that structure will not be complete.
The structure.
It will not be complete.
It will be complete.
January, it will not
Structure.
be complete. It will not be complete.
So the section that is not being elevated from the Mlolongo to JKIA turnoff, the interchange, that is not elevated. Senor, that is already complete. It will be open in the next 10 days. The structure will be done.
10
and
days.
And then from General Motors going all the way to Airtel. To
structure
Eka
here,
Hotel.
Structure here.
That middle section, that will be complete.
Structure here means
elevated from there.
that whole thing up to ABC. If you're talking structure, ABC and beyond, everything that you're saying should be up and about, not up and running, just up and about.
Yes.
Okay, won't happen.
Wow.
If I may speak Nigerian, won't happen.
It will happen. It will happen. That one, in fact, not even February. The structure alone, December it will be there.
You gotta have faith.
Now, from that point on,
there are many sections. You see
what will
happening?
now take is
It's
putting
like
putting the plaster, the
Putting the
furniture,
and then putting
the
in
paint,
the taps and the fittings.
those ones now will
then
take a while.
later you can't put carpet, armchair, curtains, things like that.
Faith doesn't work unless there's a large and reliable dosage of disbelief.
But you know what? It's
Yes.
like a big jigsaw puzzle, this expressway. And that's what Kenha is telling us right now. That there's certain sections they've been working on it in piecemeal. Here. You finish this part, you open, you finish this
Kwani,
part.
which country do these people think we live in?
So then when they finish all of this, they put it together. That's essentially what you're saying. So now the structure that Eric is talking about is what is currently happening. So sections here, there, we finish, we open. We finish, we open. We finish, we open. We ease the congestion a little bit. We finish the section, we open. So then later, you put it all together.
Look, I've seen
Abi?
I've seen
Yes.
that being done with Ngong Road. Okay,
For the last 20
Japanese.
years.
No. The Japanese did that. They finish a section, they open that section, they complete another section. Now one could argue that particular road is actually complete.
Which one? Ngong Road.
With traffic.
That one.
Everlasting construction.
Thank you very much.
By 2050, Ngong Road will not be complete.
Everlasting construction.
Okay.
Since I came to Kenya.
All right, folks.
Ngong Road.
All right, folks. No, the structure. No, the structure is in place. Eric, see, the structure is in place. Structure. Okay. Ramp, and then ramp on the other side. Ramp on Ngong Road. See, it's complete. This one even has traffic lights. This one doesn't have traffic lights. So.
They even painted it.
Yes, even paint. So, structure.
Touche, city.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So can I just close my story? I'm not talking again. Okay. Wow. All right. Sawa.
Yeah, that's so.
I'm not talking again. Sure.
Ngong Road is another unfolding issue.
Everlasting.
They've painted, and then you are on a lane, and the lane just disappears.
Don't joke. This is Kenya.
But the structure is complete.
Find yourself in Guadalupe Primary School.
This is Kenya.
Wow.
A country of wonders. And those wonders never cease.
This is where they never cease. Wow.
Someone telling you we are going to continue watering this thing. Okay.
Continue. No. So Kenha is communicating about what they want to do. So shall we hold it? If we're saying 10 days, today is what? Today is the 22nd of
Wait,
September.
the first time they said 10 days, did they do that thing that was supposed
Even
to do in 10
day one,
days?
he didn't. Which one?
The one of opening up some section by September 10th. Remember?
Whereby opening
did
means...
That section actually opened.
They did the deed.
Yes, that section opened.
Okay.
And that diversion that had been initially created, then now they finished that part and they opened. Indeed, they did.
Okay. Okay.
It wasn't in the 10 days, but they finished.
It was at least within this year.
As in, at least by now that we're asking about it, it has been done. Whether you counted or not.
So I think that the yardstick we should use here isn't days and weeks. It should be years.
There should be time.
Yes, so if you're
Just
talking
say
about
time.
Ngong Road.
Not at the time, just say it will be
Completed, yes.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about 10, please, appropriately, 10 years. Okay?
Hey. Let's bring the conversation to healthcare. All right. So, a number of days ago, there's a doctor who took to Twitter and has been talking about this for a couple of days now. 2 days ago, Dr. Nyeri went on Twitter and said the issue of patients dying at the accident and emergency section because Kenyatta National Hospital's lifts are not working, therefore cannot be wheeled up to theatre, is the epitome of a collapsed system. Doctors are taking a mental beating and we're now getting used to the song. It's just wrong. I'm here to constantly remind you that we cannot normalize suffering and death from a broken system. We have to speak for the vulnerable. Healthcare is one sector we should not accept this in. And this received a lot of reaction. Then she went on again yesterday and she was raising the same issue and saying, look, I've spent my morning trying to explain health systems to people and why the answers given to KNH's problems are even sadder than the situation I posted yesterday, especially when they come from authorities. There's something very wrong with us. The problem is many people do not understand health systems, even our own healthcare workers. Some mean well in the positions that they sit in, but the inability to visualize the system holistically binds them from the suffering of a patient's journey. Then there's the avoidance group, whom unfortunately have the power to change things at many levels, but feel like this is not their portion to worry about. Friends and relatives constantly need fundraisers because of this system. It does affect all of us. Many other doctors came in and, they reacted to this and they were saying, yes, there are issues that are taking place, not just at the country's largest referral hospital, but in other facilities. We've talked about this. We've talked about, it's been covered in the news. People going to access health facilities and then they're told, we don't have medicine. Why? Because we have issues here and there with our supplies with KEMSA. Other places where you go and find that, yes, we have an oxygen plant, but it's not been working because one thing or the other, we have not paid our bills, we have not gotten our transformer sorted with the power distribution company. One issue after another. It just raises concerns about, so what exactly are we talking about? Is it really a broken system, or is it just chinks here and there that can just be fixed and sorted? And what do we need to do to make sure that everything works as smoothly as it should? Now, we've tried to reach out to the CEO of the Kenyatta National Hospital. Unfortunately, we've not been able to get him, and we'd love to especially get that reaction from him, more feedback. When a doctor and other doctors are going out and saying lifts and other basics are not working at this facility, what's happening at the facility? Is it true? Is it not? Is it maybe a scheduled maintenance that you had announced and you had come up with other alternative ways in which patients can access ICU and theatre? Or what's the issue? Let's bring in a doctor to have this conversation with. Dr. Denis Mizkela is the Deputy Secretary General of the Kenyan Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. He joins us now on the line. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the show. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you for having me this morning.
So, Doc, you've had the introduction that we've made. I'm sure you've seen the tweets by Dr. Nyeri and even by other doctors. I'm sure even in your own other forums, as KMPDU, these issues have been discussed. Is it an issue that's really happening in our health facilities, especially just starting with KNH?
Oh, thank you very much. Dr. Nyeri is one of our foot soldiers and one of our very important members. So when I saw the tweet, while I might not engage in the specifics of the matter because the accusations have not been confirmed by the administration, I can say that the Kenyan healthcare system is broken. And it's broken because the leaders who are supposed to be helping the Kenyans get the highest attainable healthcare are not doing what needed to be done. Healthcare, just like education, is like a social function. And many a time, healthcare should be work that government should provide based on the taxes that Kenyans are paying for. Sadly, you see that healthcare right now is become like a preserve of the rich, that only those who can afford it can get it. And COVID vaccine, the COVID pandemic has really exposed the gaps in the healthcare. Yeah, because if you hear the stories that patients have gone through during this COVID pandemic, it will break your heart. I lost my uncle like a month ago And whatever we went through as a family, even before he fell sick, and after he fell sick and he died, left me wondering that if I'm the deputy SG of doctors in Kenya, and I could suffer that much, what about that poor woman? Every day my phone rings about somebody, a patient in Kenyatta, in any other hospital, asking that, can you help me? Can you push for me? Because Kenyans have refused also to ask those tough questions. As you said aptly, and as Rowena said aptly, that we have let the leaders who are supposed to be organizing this sector to run away, to get away with it, because we have made death a very private thing. That when somebody dies, you say God has plucked the best from the garden. He's now rested. He's now joined God. But how come a 5-year-old should not be dying? Then you say he's going to join God. Yeah, how come that this joining God only happens in Kenya, in Africa, not in the West, where people live up to 80? Yeah, we must complain every time a patient dies, every time your relative dies. You must learn to ask, why did your patient die? Because, for example, why should someone tell you that pick up an NHIS? Then when you fall sick, you go to a public hospital. When you arrive there, there's no medication, there's no reagents for the laboratories. Then your patient dies. Yeah, in all these, as citizens, we are to blame, because when a school performs well in your village, you see citizens carrying twigs. When the roads have potholes, they plant bananas and they make noise. Have you ever seen people complain that their patient died because of a preventable cause? They never. Instead, they say, oh, he's gone to heaven now. Kenyans must get angry with the governors. You see governors, we're reading in the media how governors writing how they survived COVID, how God saved them in ICU for 2 weeks. In private hospitals in Nairobi, as their people die in the villages, and they claim that they are built fully functional ICUs. Why can't they use them? Yeah, those are the questions that Kenyans must push, complain, and because I used to work in a facility somewhere in this country where I had 5 ambulances, and my laboratory never used to work. I only had 2 wards, mothers sharing with children and men sharing with other male children. And I asked them, why would you give me 5 ambulances and I don't have laboratory working or drugs? But they're like, because the ambulances, when they run in the market, in the road, the voters are seeing them. When look at Kitui the other day, the governor of Kitui launched how many lorries for carrying cows. I can assure you that as late as yesterday, I had complaints from Kitui that they don't have gloves. They are seeing patients without gloves. If somebody is launching lorries, because that is what the voters will see running on the road. That is why Kenyans are partly to blame, because we have not taken our people, the leaders, to blame. Even in Kenyatta, the patient who died waiting in A&E for an ICU bed for 18 hours. Nobody ever complained. Why should somebody die waiting for an ICU bed for 18 hours? I want, this morning, as we set the tone for this show, I want Kenyans to know that they have the powers in their hands. And politicians only understand one thing: what affects their vote. Tell them that this time around, if you're going to be a governor boasting about ICU beds, when you fall sick, you want to see you also surviving COVID in the villages.
Daktari, can I ask a question, if I may?
Yes.
From this tweet, I mean, the elevators, Kenyatta National Hospital doesn't have just one elevator.
Yeah.
Are they all not working?
As I said earlier, that I don't have facts on the matter, but all I know is that KNH not only has almost 21 elevators, but also it has several theaters. There's a theater for A&E,
Yes.
and there's the main theaters.
Yes.
Yeah? So even if the theater for A&E was not working, there's still options that they could have. Patient, if the case is true, the people could have taken to the other theaters that are available.
I was actually going to head in that direction, and thank you very much for answering that question. It is true. But the point, I think, should not be diluted, that there is a problem and it requires fixing. And
let me tell you.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. Kenya is in a bad place. The Kenya health sector is in a bad place. I can tell you that as a worker in the sector, as a consumer of the services, we are doing badly. Because personally, I feel embarrassed when sometimes the services I offer my patients, if I were to fall sick, I will not take the services myself. Yeah? And very many doctors will say that when they fall sick, they don't go to the public healthcare system. So it's like somebody baking a bread, but as you bake the bread, when you want to buy bread for your family, you buy from the next bakery. That's what we are offering service. The same decision makers, the doctors, everybody. Because until you get a chance to go to the hospital, it will break your heart what some of our patients have to go
So
through.
what are these services that you're offering that are so substandard? Give us examples of a couple of the substandard services.
Let me tell you, for example, in hospitals across this country, there's always how we are trained as doctors, how you should be. When you get a patient, you take your history, then you investigate and come with a diagnosis, and you write the right drug. Yeah.
Yep.
You'll find yourself in a situation whereby, yes, you can talk to the patient and get the history. But when you get to the point of the next level of care, whereby you now need to test for malaria or a bacterial infection, you are being told that the machine is not working. So at this point, you have to then say that, will you refer this to a mother who does not even have transport to the next level of care, or you're just going to go and start with antibiotics? Then you hear people will throw in even antimalarials, yeah? Or when you have a county where you are being told as a doctor that when you are ordering for drugs, this is the list of drugs you must order. And that's the governor telling you, he or she is not a doctor, yeah? That when you write that you need tramadol, a stronger painkiller for the patient, they cancel that order until we'll get the Panadol, which is, and like, I as the doctor, I know what kind of drug a patient will need at every point of need, yeah? So that many a times when you write even the prescription now, you are forced to write a prescription to the patient to go buy the drug outside. And it's very sad when you're doing the ward rounds every morning and you're like, did she get this medication? And you're being told, we're still waiting for the relatives to bring that medication.
Yeah. Because it's also not available in the local chemists.
Are we looking at a situation that is proliferated around the country, or are these one-off occurrences? Is it enough to say that this behavior or this practice is so widespread that it is now a national problem in terms of health? Or is it something that you ran into on a particular day, or that you heard somebody tell you? Or is it countrywide?
What I can tell you is that this is not a one-off situation. And today I'm going to be candid. Today I want to speak for the patient, because for the longest of time, people have just been speaking for the management. Yeah? If you ask any Kenyan right now, their biggest worry, they will tell you that the biggest worry is any of their loved ones falling sick. In fact, I can dare say that even the so-called middle class who are very complacent because they have private insurance, they are only one major illness away from getting poor, because even when you go to the private, they'll tell you that they only cover you for maybe $1 million. After that, you have to transfer to the public hospital. Yeah? And they'll say that anybody has gotten a chance to go to the public hospital, whenever you go there, you don't get a time that you'll be told that this is not working, we need an MRI, go do it outside and come back, and all we need is CT scan, or we need this kind of test, take this sample across the private laboratories. And many a times, the Kenyans end up blaming the doctor. That, they have the private laboratories outside and chemists outside, they're sending us out there so that they can make money. It's never about us. It's just that if there's a test that I need to make a diagnosis and I know what I need to do, and it's not there in the facility, the only thing I can do to you is tell you that please go across the road. You can get a laboratory and you get this drug for me. Yeah. So this is something that, and this is a problem that began with the devolution. The public health sector system, the rain started beating us when we decided that we are going to allow privateers for profit to heavily invest in the sector. The same decision makers that we have in this country, the same politicians, some of them own the private hospitals. I hear people say that Kenyan doctors own private hospitals in this country. Doctors don't own hospitals in this country, that's the truth. The Kenyan doctor has maybe a clinic there or two outpatient clinics, but the owners of the hospitals are the same politicians in this country. And they are the same people who also own the insurances in this country that offer the health insurance. So you think that they're going to allow the public healthcare system to thrive when they can make it go down, so that to force you to go to private. And as you go to private, you're forced to take up the private insurance. Yeah? Right now, every employer, the first thing they tell you when they give you a contract, that we'll offer you an insurance, a health insurance. Because they know that the public healthcare system is so broken that if they don't protect their employees by giving that private insurance, they might never have that workforce tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we're having a conversation with Denis Mizkela. He's the Deputy Secretary General of the Kenyan Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. We're just talking about the state of healthcare systems in the country. And this is off the back of what we've talked about. We've talked about counties not having the requisite medicine and other supplies because counties have not paid KEMSA that supplies them. Then also there was a tweet the other day by one of the doctors who was talking about a situation that's taking place at Kenyatta National Hospital. We're lucky we're joined by the CEO of the Kenyatta National Hospital, Dr. Evanson Kamuri. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on SpiceFM.
Yes.
Doc, there was this issue that has come up about a situation at Kenyatta National Hospital. First of all, I just want to get a clarification on this. The lifts at the accident and emergency section of KNH not working, and therefore patients cannot be wheeled up to theatre. Is this a situation that is actually real in the hospital?
First of all, my brother, the facts are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Accident and emergency, we don't have lifts. In fact, our patients in accident and emergency, the trauma theaters are actually in accident and emergency.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first fact. The second fact is that we don't take patients to theater from accident and emergency, because those who need accident and emergency at accident and emergency theater, we have a trauma theater, and in fact now we are happy to say that we have already started another theater called daycare center, which is next to accident and emergency.
Mm.
The second thing is that patients who are taken to theater, most likely to the main theater, which is in the first floor, even when the lifts are not working, because every institution have lifts occasionally breaking down. But right now, our lifts are working. Some are still under repair, but they are working.
Mm-hmm.
We have 21 lifts in the hospital. We have service lifts, we have patient lifts, and we have food lifts. Occasionally, one lift or two will break. Occasionally, again, because of the traffic, the number of people, we receive about 15 to 20,000 relatives and friends per day.
Mm.
So occasionally, this may break. To the first floor, where the theaters are, we have a ramp. Even if it was a patient coming from first floor, we have a ramp to theater.
Mm-hmm.
So occasionally, they break. But at the moment, they are working. Even now, as I'm talking, anybody who is around can go and see the lifts are working.
Mm-hmm.
Brother.
Dr. Kamuri, so was there a death at the accident and emergency? Were you aware of anything like this because of any kind of delay? If there was, what was the reason for it, or was it then linked to this?
I've said they cannot be a death that because a patient did not go to theater from casualty, because from accident emergency, our theaters are just on the ground. They are actually inside accident and emergency.
Right.
So you can't say that a patient was not taken. If you read the tweet, and we actually answered that tweet, it was not an honest tweet because the facts were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the person who sent that tweet was just malicious. It's good to know that, and it's good to agree that there is no organization that who has lifts that don't break one occasionally. But we have more than one lift. We don't just have one lift. We have, as I've said, we have 21 lifts.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So there is no time we can ground all the lifts at the moment. They are working.
We appreciate the response to this, Dr. Kamuri, and that's why we were reaching out to you, because this is a conversation that we're having not only about the lifts, but just about the conditions at KNH and other facilities. So you receive about 15 to 20,000 visitors on a daily basis. These are very many people that you have to deal with on a daily basis. I've actually been to KNH a number of times, and yes, it's a queue to get into the lift. It's a scramble to get onto the lift. It's also a bigger scramble if you have to go up and down the stairs. Now, is there any plan that you have to ease the visits and how people then get to access the various levels and floors when they're visiting their loved ones, or when they are going, when they have been discharged, when they're going home?
The issue of now the national referral. We have started the national referral.
Yeah.
Which has actually eased the number of patients. At the moment now we have about 2,000, just around between 19 to 2,000 patients inpatient.
Yeah.
Unlike us, where we were going up to nearly 3,000. So the numbers have come down too. We have put the COVID protocols. So if you come over lunch hour, you will find we are restricting the number of people getting to the hospital. But the other thing I will still tell you, my brother, it's unlikely we can be able to tell people not to visit their loved ones.
Yes.
Because again, visiting relatives, visiting patients is therapeutic, and it's reassuring and giving a sense of hope. So the only thing we can do is to make the process a bit efficient and seamless. If you have noted, we have put a number of security officers on that area to regulate the movement. But all in all, I cannot stop people from visiting their loved ones. We just have to control.
Dr. Ari, thank you very, very much for your responses. Let me just ask this question.
Yes.
Going forward, what plans do you as the fraternity at Kenyatta National Hospital have to ensure that you are able to more efficiently meet the needs of Kenyans who keep coming to Kenyatta Hospital seeking healthcare services?
One thing I can tell you, and I really, really appreciate what the government has done this year. We have received quite a number of funding from the government, especially to increase and to upgrade our equipment, especially the absolute equipment. And even as we talk now, we are also in the process of even acquiring new lifts. You can imagine some of these lifts, we renovate them, and as I've told you, because of the traffic, they work 24 hours. So we are actually in the process of getting new ones. And then also, we have, from the referral system now, if you look at Kenyatta now, if you come around Kenyatta, there is quite a number of constructions going on where we are expanding centers of excellence. We are opening a center of excellence of burns and pediatric emergencies, which will be outside the main block. We have opened a daycare center, which is also outside the main block. We are in the process of finishing phase 1 of the cancer treatment center, which is also outside the main block. And also, if you look at the other side of the road, Gong Road, we are doing East African Kidney Institute again, which is also outside the main block. When you combine all this, now you will see we are trying to put patients outside the main block so that we can actually reduce the number of patients who are relying on the tower block. And with that, the traffic will ease, and also the efficiency and the quality of services will also improve market.
Dr. There was a news article a couple of weeks back about KNH and having an oxygen plant. And the story was saying that you had an oxygen plant that had broken down a couple of months prior, was it years prior? And so it severely hampered your access to oxygen. Has this been addressed?
You see, again, this oxygen plant stopped working 2016. It's not something that happened last year, but one. And again, the problem of oxygen, it's not just Kenyatta which had a problem of oxygen, but I will tell you, and we thank God to the oxygen supplier team. We've had the BOC on our side. We have had another company called Nobo, and also we had DEFT also coming to support the oxygen. We have not, as Kenyatta per se, we've not had a crisis of oxygen. But that notwithstanding, we are still also in the process of still acquiring another oxygen plant, through the Ministry of Health, which again we are grateful. But so far, we thank God we have not had a challenge of oxygen. There has been bouts of periodic shortage of oxygen, but that has not compromised. If you remember, and you have been following us, there was a time we reduced, and not just Kenyatta, even other private sectors, they reduced routine surgical procedures. We were only doing ICU and emergency theater at that time. We stopped to have the routine surgery for a week or so when there was or shortage. But at the moment, we are doing well. We can't complain.
But since taking over, Doc, isn't it one of those things that you think the region's largest referral hospital not having its own oxygen plant should not be considered an emergency by the management? As you're doing a parking lot and all, should this not be among the projects that you come in and say, I want to have my own oxygen plant within a year?
I will tell you, we are in the process. But I will tell you, my brother, also, if you are to come to a hospital, and not just Kenyatta, from an outsider person, you will only look at what you think is an emergency or what you think is very crucial. There are many more emergencies or crucial requirements a hospital needs, not just oxygen. And you see, we only became curious about oxygen now because of COVID.
Yep.
But you see, even now with COVID and after COVID, there are still other problems that were there, and there are still other problems that are in the health sector, including infrastructure, including equipment. And you see, because of their turnaround also of the equipment and breakdown, there are still other needs that hospitals have other than oxygen. And so if you would still have oxygen supply adequate, there you would still have other problems that we are sorting out. For example, let me just pick, for example, newborn. You know, if you look at the infrastructure of bringing up newborn units, ICU, intensive care units, accident and emergency systems, all those are actually more emergency that if you would get somebody supplying new oxygen. I'm not saying oxygen is not important. It is very important now because of COVID. But the fact that there is COVID doesn't mean, my brother, that all the other systems must stop. But as I have told you now, we are also in the process of doing an oxygen. We have done one oxygen plant now in Odaya, which is also part of Kenyatta. But we are also in the process. We'll be also completing our oxygen plant as well in the course of this year.
Dr. Kamuri, it just sounds like, from what you're saying, even before COVID, that there's so many things going on at the same time and you have to juggle and make decisions about which one you're going to give attention, right? We're also on the line with Dr. Denis Mizkela, who is the Deputy Secretary General of the KMPDU, rather. And I think he might have a question for you, Dr. Mizkela, something that you would like to hear from Dr. Kamuri this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Kamuri, for gracing the show. I don't hold a brief for Kenyatta, but I want to, first of all, concur with Dr. Kamuri on the issue of the accusations that are leveled against Kenyatta, as I said earlier, and the facts that were provided. But actually, for me, the main issue that I would like to ask is, what is the management of Kenyatta doing on the number one, on the issue about the constant breakages of the imaging? For example, the MRI machines, many a times you find that they're broken down and patients have to go outside. Number two, the other thing is the occasional shortages of essential drugs in Kenyatta, where sometimes you see there's some delays in procurement, and when you want to procure certain drugs, the patients have to go buy outside. What are we going to do on the supply chain management of the drug and also the maintenance of the machines long term? Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. It is good because all of you doctors have passed through Kenyatta, and you know the issues of machines. And even in your own house, even a microwave, if you are to use a microwave day and night, occasionally there will be power shortages, there will be tilting, and occasionally breakage. And there is also closure for maintenance, repair and maintenance. At the moment, Dr. you know, we have the top notch. I don't think there is any organization in Kenya which has an MRI like the one we have. Occasionally, and it works 24 hours. We do MRIs 24 hours. So it is not unusual for a machine that is working 24 hours, 7 days in a week to break. That is normal. And what we have done as a part of the measure, when the machine break, we have an arrangement with the Nairobi Hospital, Nairobi West Hospital. We have an arrangement where we do not deny any patient who need an emergency MRI to go for. We actually take them with our own ambulance, and we take the cost, and then we recover the cost from the patient. So we have that system in place so that anytime the machine is working. Please, it's good to note that an MRI is a capital intense equipment, and as we have just said, something costing between 300 million to $500 million. It is not something you want to have 4 or 5 in one system just to to avoid the breakage. So we have a service contract system in place, but occasionally, as I said, it's not unusual for equipment to break. The other question was, I've forgotten what
essential drugs.
The drug shortage in the supply chain.
Supply for now, I will tell you at the moment, and you can take that to the bank. We don't, unless when we have a supply that is not available in the country. We have streamlined our system of procurement drugs now, unless a product that is not in Kempta or a product is having in out of the formulary that is not within the market. If you have noted, even for the COVID, we are among the only hospital that could provide those drugs that the COVID patients were needing. So at the moment, our procurement system, we have streamlined it. Daktari, you can come, but occasionally 1 or 2 drugs will still be missing, again, because we are guided by the Procurement and Disposal Act and also the processes that has to follow within the law. And occasionally, that's why you will find maybe 1 or so drugs. But we have really tried to make sure that there is adequate medication for the patients and even for the staffs, so that we can have seamless system running. That is something I can assure you, and we'll continue trying to give services, because I still believe that Kenyans must be given the services. They must have value for their money. That's our system and our policy, and we must continue upholding it. That's right.
And thank you very much, Dr. Arifo. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Doctor.
Yes, talk about COVID, I've remembered something. That the isolation unit and the treatment center for COVID for Kenyatta is in Bagadi. There is a severe acute shortage of manpower. And I'm speaking from a point of a patient. When my uncle was sick and we went to Bagadi, it was terrible. First of all, just when he arrived and the time he was seeing a doctor, it was a long delay. And when they saw him at 6, there's only one doctor who came. And they have to do the entire round until 1 a.m. By the time they're done with the ward round at 1 a.m., they can't come back to the other patient in bed 1. They have to wait for the morning team. And I have text of my late uncle texting me at 8 p.m. that the oxygen mask had fallen down, and there was no one to return it, and he couldn't pick it. And what are you going to address on the acute shortage of healthcare workers, not just in the COVID centers, but in the facilities?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's I may not know what time of the year that was since COVID, but I will tell you one thing. It was which month?
Last month.
Just last month.
Yes.
One
doctor covers.
1 month.
Yes.
Yes, in August.
Well, I will tell you one thing. Unless laxity for staff, we've not had a shortage. Because what we did when COVID came, and we thank the Ministry of Health, because we were given funds to allocate staffs. We actually employed the staffs on short contracts to cover COVID. And what we did, we actually moved some skilled staffs from Kenyatta to that facility of ours in Bagadi and others in Othaya to distribute them, because you also don't want to expose the newer staffs to COVID because of lack of experience. So adequately, Bagadi had been covered. And then, as I've just said, occasionally you will have lapsed staff or lazy personnel. But otherwise, in terms of staffing in Bagadi for COVID, it has been adequately covered. But I will still look onto it to make sure that people are not lapsed.
Dr. Evanson Kamuri, the CEO of Kenyatta National Hospital, we thank you very much for speaking to us today and for clarifying us a number of these issues that we are dealing with. Just tell us about the renal unit. There has been, issues in the news in the recent past. So first, the renal unit at KNH has, was even celebrating milestones a couple of, was it last year? But also, there's it's been in the news about the increasing number of patients who require dialysis and who require maybe kidney transplants, and they end up at KNH. How is our unit coping with the increased numbers?
A major challenge has always been numbers. But we have never shied away from numbers because we serve Kenyans who are especially the low economic Kenyans. But we thank God again, NHIF system through the Ministry of Health has come for the rescue. And what as Kenyatta we have done, currently we have now done a new building for renal transplants only, which will be commissioning in a month or so. It's ready. All we are fixing now are theaters. And two, we have put the state-of-the-art, the only one in the region where we can now do tissue matching. You see, initially, to look at, when we are looking for donors, we used to send their samples to look where they are compatible with one another. We used to send for donors outside the country. So it used to take a lot of time. And the turnaround time for now transplant was quite a challenge. At the moment, again, you will see it as commissioning it. The government has put for us a very state-of-the-art equipment that we can now be doing that compatibility test so that the turnaround time for transplants will be increased. We have now 2 theaters specifically dedicated only for transplants. But I will tell you other things. There are other factors other than now for those hardware that actually limit the transplant. As much as we want to be doing 3 kidney transplants every week, 2 things happen. One, occasionally now because of COVID, we don't want to take patients who are COVID. There are times we have prepared patients for transplant, and then by the time you test the second day preparing for theater, you find they are COVID. Occasionally they get infections. Some of these things will deter, but otherwise we have put the systems in place. We have put NHIF in place. But the other thing I also want to tell you, also, even all these people who go abroad for the transplant, you will find even when they come back, it is still our burden. We are still the ones who are following it. Because even when you do a transplant, it is worthy to note that you will have to be followed up the rest of your life. All those patients are our burden. It is us who are taking care of that. Not that we are complaining, but we are saying that would make us look like we are really handling big numbers. But we are trying, and what I know is that by the end of the year, we will have actually nearly cleared all the backlogs for transplant. And it is worthy to note the cost is significantly down. In fact, with 500,000 and NHIF is covering, transplant is covered. So it's worthy to note that it's important for people not to go to abroad. It is good to be coming to Kenyatta and have the transplant done.
Dr. Evanson Kamuri, CEO, Kenyatta National Hospital, thank you very much for speaking to us. We also want to thank you as well, Deputy Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Dentists and Pharmacists Union, Denis Mizkela. Asanteni for joining us, Dr. Harris.
Thank you, my brother, and have a good day.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
We give you the latest, the funniest, and the most entertaining updates and news from Kenya and the world while you kick back and relax. Join in on our comical duo Hassan Umar and Sugar Boy on Habariza News every Friday at 10 p.m. only on KTN Home.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise! Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Losing a loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get access to funeral services from our trusted vendors. The Standard Tributes, keeping memories alive.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
All right, so
done right.
What Dr. Mizkela was saying is talking about the state of healthcare in the country. And then Dr. Kamuri, of course, responding to this particular issue that is out there on social media, that there's the lifts that are broken down at A&E. It says, well, no. No. Patients do not go to the theater through A&E, and they don't even use those lifts. Out of the 21 lifts, all of them are today working. But then they'll break down here and there once in a while.
To be expected.
They'll be sorted. So it's good to clarify on that particular one issue, but also to get to understand what else they're doing at KNH. But what Dr. Mizkela was saying is still very valid in terms of all of us as Kenyans. If we get to that point where we just say, okay, it's God's will that this person has died,
without interrogating the reasons.
Yes.
Or, the thing is, I think by the time grief like that grips you, then you're likely not to start asking the questions as to, could this have been avoided, number one?
Yeah.
And then also making demands of a proper, solid, dependable healthcare system. It is within your right to do so. And I think that's what happens. That you then tend to think, all right, okay, well, we can't really do much about this. And you can see that something is in a state of struggle. And so you ask yourself, all right, they're already not being able to have their fingers on all of these responsibilities. Do I then go and demand? And I'm saying, yes, you do. Because there's a certain kind of pressure that you can put on a particular system if it's not operating optimally. You add the pressure and for them to see that, you know what, we can actually do something about this to get it running better. You can say, well, for the longest time it's been this way. Well, okay, that's a lackadaisical attitude towards it. But you can insist that it actually meets the optimum.
And then I think it's also very important for those that understand the sector, this is the practitioners, to come out and speak more often about it and raise those issues. If you are serving at a place where you have been told this is the only kind of medicine that you should order, should procure, because the governor looks at how much money is going to be spent, then you should raise that issue and say, no, this is affecting the quality of service that we're giving. We don't have labs that are working. I cannot get to a proper diagnosis of what a patient is presenting in front of me, and so I don't know what I'm treating. Those are very big things, and he has raised very, very, very valid points that we keep talking about here on a daily basis on this show. Keep it right here. The show continues. In the next hour, we go into the politics of the orange. The Secretary General of ODM, Edwin Sifuna, will be joining us. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The search and rescue mission for 8 people who drowned in Lake Victoria after a boat capsized is still ongoing. Homa Bay Township Chief Joshua Ochongo said 2 people have died and 6 were rescued. He added that the 6 were receiving treatment at the Homa Bay Referral Hospital. The boat was transporting 16 passengers before sinking about 500 meters from Pierre's Beach in Homa Bay. The boat is suspected to have capsized due to overloading.
Tutaendelea na hali ya kutafuta mili ambayo imebaki, na ikiwezekana Mungu akitujalia tutawapata. Ningependa kuhimiza kwamba wale wote ambao wana mitumbi wahakikishe kwamba watu wanavaa life jackets na wahakikishe kwamba mitumbi haijajaa kushinda kiasi.
The Standard Group through Transform Kenya will today hold discussions around the competency-based curriculum at the Daystar University. The discussions will be live on KTN News from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The CBC has caused public outcry with parents and guardians raising concern about the cost, assignments as well as teacher training.
Anapopewa kazi kwa shule, unapata akienda pale kwa nyumba, unapata mami nisaidie hii. Labda ameambiwa waende wapige picha kitu fulani. Unapata huna hiyo material kwa nyumba. Sasa unapata hapo ni changamoto kubwa sana.
Kuna vile wanaweza ambiwa hata waoshe vyombo, inabidi umuonyeshe step to step vile anafaa kuosha hiyo vyombo, kama ni manguo zake vile anafaa kufua, vile anafaa kupanga, na kazi yake pia vile ataipanga. Iko na jukumu kubwa sana kwa.
The CBC has as well seen a parent who is also a lawyer in the Law Society of Kenya file a petition against the curriculum. This also has been a debate on the curriculum between former NAT SG Wilson Sosion and Education CS George Magoha.
They must engage their children, whether they like it or not.
Curriculum hailasimishwi, inachikwalipa yenyewe kupitia pilot na inakuwa na alama. Ikipata alama zaidi ya 50 inaendelea, lakini ile 40 kupitia expert evaluator.
I have never found a CBC classroom not being attended to by a competent teacher. So what the hell are you people talking about?
Tunajua waziri wa elimu hataki kuhusisha chama. Kwa hivyo Wakenya wajue curriculum ile inakuwa rolled out, sisi hatumo huko.
No cases of blood clotting have been reported since Kenya started administering vaccines against COVID-19. Health CAS Rashid Aman told MPs the 5 vaccines being used are safe and have met the highest international health standards. He further said that only 2% of the population had been vaccinated because of vaccine hesitancy. Rashid, who appeared before the National Assembly's Health Committee, however, said that 633 Kenyans who've taken the jab had reported adverse effects as a result of the COVID-19 vaccine. He also said that those with mild reactions recovered with or without any interventions. Former National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale now blames President Uhuru Kenyatta for pushing for the passage of the 2018 financial bill, which increased the VAT. In a statement that was ridiculous considering he was at the forefront of pushing for the passage of the bill, Duale now said Kenyatta had abused his power after returning the bill that was rejected by lawmakers to Parliament.
This House rejected the increase and the putting of VAT on petroleum. And Mr. Speaker, the President used his powers under Article 115. Speaker, that is provided for by the Constitution in order the President to protect the Constitution and the excesses of the legislature. But never, I have looked at even other jurisdictions. President Obama in his 8 years used that power, the veto power, 4 times. President Uhuru Kenyatta has used more than any other president, over 35 times. So, Mr. Speaker, the country must know it's not Parliament.
Duale also blamed lawmakers for not showing up during the 2018 debate to find enough numbers to overthrow it, citing the president pressures from the International Monetary Fund.
Mr. Speaker, the President cannot use Article 115 to harass. And the whole thing is about IMF, Mr. Speaker. IMF have said we must charge VAT. This president is using his powers to make innocent hustlers and Kenyans suffer, Mr. Speaker. And this House cannot just sit and debate. Mr. Speaker, allow a private member to bring a bill tomorrow.
And in business, East Africa Breweries Limited plans to stop using Kenya Power electricity to drive its Kenyan factories, intensifying the shift by farms to generate their own power from solar. KBL Managing Director John Musunga said the brewer is targeting delinking from Kenya Power ahead of 2030 under a 22 billion plan. The brewer's investments comes amid a warning from Kenya Power that some of its industrial customers, who account for about 68.31% of its sales revenues, are gradually shifting to own generated solar power, dealing a further blow to its already dwindling finances. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, there's traffic inbound on Mombasa Road this morning. There's also traffic outbound. 10 days, guys. 10 days is when they say they'll open parts of this road. So maybe things will get a little bit better. We're looking at the outer ring stretch as well, going towards the city centre. Quite a little bit of traffic there as well. Jogo Road, past the Makadara station, going towards Kaloleni. That is also a thing. Oh, the city is jam-packed. Langata Road feeding into the city, as well as Ngong Road today. Ngong Road has joined this party and said, traffic here, we are joining. Coming out of Parklands, Limuru Road, coming out of Mufaiga as well, that entire circuit, and then connecting with the traffic that is coming from the Thika Superhighway is an absolute mess this morning. We are in the middle of traffic hour, a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Like to continue for some time. Let's keep an eye on things, right? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch. You see something out of whack, let us know. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 7 minutes after 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning. We're broadcasting on SpiceFM. We are online across the globe. And we are also now on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. We have C.T. Muga in the studio. And we also have the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna. We'll introduce him shortly. C.T., today's proverb, the one for today.
Today's proverb, the one for today.
Yeah.
It says this.
Uh-huh.
A man who pays respect to the great paves his own way for his own greatness.
Okay.
Yes.
And then now you have one for tomorrow.
Of course, I have one for tomorrow.
Good.
And not only one for tomorrow, so that the man from Kimilili can rest assured that his interest is taken care of.
Bas. Finally.
Yes.
Okay. Edwin Sifuna.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to
Asante Sana. It's always a pleasure, Eric.
Good to have you again.
Yeah, good that you invited me again. There's a lot of fear in political circles coming to the Situation Room.
Fear of?
Fear?
Yeah, after what you have done to one of our colleagues.
Oh, I thought it was fear of Mombasa Road.
No, it has nothing
That's
to do
a
with
little word
Mombasa
with
Road.
big connotations.
Yeah, it is fear. You know, it is very difficult to defend lies. And it has been said that lies are the stock of politicians. So you will find a lot of excuses and apologies why people don't come to your show. But for me, really, you can do to me as you please. I will still come back.
You have no lies to
You
tell.
have no lies to tell.
I have no lies to tell.
You are
Only
an
the truth.
open book.
Hapani, truth and facts shall set you free. And that is all I have come with.
Very good.
Yes.
Secretary General of ODM, the Orange Democratic Movement Party, Chama cha Baba.
Chama cha wananchi, si cha baba. Unajua ushuru yenu ndiye inalipa kusustain ODM.
Yes.
Sasa hiyo ni chama yenu.
You receive a lot of money from the taxpayers.
I wouldn't say it's a lot, but it's substantial.
Kenyans will say it's a lot. How much did you receive in the last tranche that you received?
I think the last financial year we got about 220 million.
Okay.
Out of our total entitlement of about 1.2 billion shillings. Because
total entitlement of ODM
yes,
or of NASA?
Of ODM. Because the law says that Treasury must set aside 0.3% of government revenue for purposes of a political party's fund. So if that were complied with and you calculate what is due to ODM, we are supposed to be receiving at least 1.2 billion shillings each year.
Okay.
But we have never hit that. Even the court case, the court award, the 4 billion, they only paid us 200 million. So at that rate, it will take about 20 years for us to receive the full complement of the 4 billion.
So what
but
do
we
you do
understand.
with that money?
Oh, there's a lot of programs that we run as political parties. You know, one of our key performance indicators is that we are supposed to have offices countrywide. So as I speak to you today, I'm a very proud SG because we now have 42 county offices that are fully paid for from the political parties fund. The next step was now to go into the constituency offices. We receive a lot of complaints from our members and supporters that they would like devolution of even party services so that the National Secretariat is not the only place you can go for if you want services from a party, including life membership applications and so on and so forth. We are supposed to do programs such as, outreach, identification of candidates, especially women and youth and persons with disabilities. We have set up a training program for the women aspirants. And I wish these things were available for us, Latif, when we were starting politics. That in fact, there are things that people take for granted. That you need certain trainings before you get into politics. How to set up your campaign teams, how to speak, the issues you identify when you speak to, even how to dress. I mean, these are things that have an implication on politics. So there's a lot of things to do in terms of providing platforms for young people to join politics, providing platforms for women to join politics, and all these things require money. So I am very proud. If you look at our audited accounts for the past 15 years, ODM has received clean audits because the way that we spend public money is something that you can review.
All right.
And these reports are submitted to Parliament as well. And we have never had questions regarding our accounts.
Before we get into the conversation that we want to have today, which is the plans
Yes.
for ODM 2022 elections,
Yeah.
you've actually raised a very important point, which I'm sure very many people listening and watching this show today will benefit from
Yes.
understanding. When a political party, say, receives this money
Yes.
from the political party's fund,
Yes.
does it draw the money from a budget that it has set? Is
Yeah.
this budget, first of all, approved by the party and then approved by any another organ, say the Register of Political Parties?
Yes, absolutely. First, we have, these leagues in the party, the Women League, the Disability League, the Youth League. They prepare work plans each year. Those work plans are then approved by the NEC and they form part of the party's budget. And then that budget has to be submitted to the Register of Political Parties for us to draw the money from the office of the Register of Political Parties. So she can then follow up and see that the things that you budgeted for are the exact things that you spend money on. One of the complaints that we've been receiving when we've been going around is, the quality of our sound system. For instance, we had budgeted for that last year, but we were not able to receive the money that we had anticipated. So it becomes very difficult because these things are a stretch. You have meetings in counties, like right now, we have proposed to our county chairs that they have scaled down meetings because we are in the political season. It is not no longer sustainable for us to just stay off and say we are in the COVID season. Yet we can see our competitors are running. So we have proposed to them to hold meetings like the ones we do at Chungu House of a maximum of 50 people where you can put up a tent in an open space and continue to have those meetings. So regularly you will see requests coming from the counties. Like yesterday we were processing a request from Bungoma. They would like to have, they have a new office. They would like to have furniture in that office. They would like to have regular meetings of the Youth League, the Women League in all the 9 constituencies in Bungoma. That is how your money is spent, to provide these opportunities for political processes to continue within the party and even to provide platforms for young women, especially young women. I don't know why when people talk about women empowerment, they have a certain age of women in mind. Maendeleo ya wanawake types, and we would like to encourage young women to be able to also to participate in politics. And Latif, you are not going to be able to address the final rally at Uhuru Park on the last day of campaigns, if you have never spoken to a room of 10 people, So we create these capacities for young women to address 10 people in their ward. Then in the presence of the party leadership, you can be able to say, who is that young man who spoke, or that young lady who spoke in Changamwe? She appears to have the right stuff, and if she's supported, is somebody that can produce leadership. This is how people like Millie Odhiambo have come through the ranks in the party. They were first identified, given party nominations. Now they were able to compete and win the ticket of a party in single constituencies, and they are now legislators duly elected by people. So this is what your money does.
And it's also audited by the Auditor General.
It is audited by the Auditor General. I want to say here that the political parties fund, first of all, does not allow for payment of salaries from that money to officials of the party. So like Sifuna does not receive money from the political parties fund. Others say, this money only goes. Yeah, that is illegal. It is prohibited. So like for me, the party provides what they call facilitation for my movement. So they'll give me fuel if I'm going to Kisumu or a ticket. That money comes from members' contributions purely because our members also contribute money to the party. So I don't touch the political party's fund as an official. But if you are an employee of the party, like our executive director, the directors of membership, registration, and so on and so forth. Those ones, it's okay for you to pay. So you can come to my office. I can show you a schedule of the monies that are applied to party offices across the county, party programs, the Women League, the Youth League, the Disability League, and so on and so forth. And the last thing I want to say is there is a requirement under the Political Parties Fund that 30% of that money must be spent in programs for women, youth, and disability. So they draw up their own programs, the Youth League, the Women League. You can see they are all over the country running their own programs that have been approved by NEC in accordance with their work plans that they prepare each year. Yeah.
This is interesting because it seems as though there's a thread of accountability that is running through this. So the end product, when you have whoever it may be, MCAs, members of county assemblies, members of parliament come from this party essentially, then does that thread of accountability, is it not expected that the thread of accountability will then run through until the end product? And can you keep track of that even after the fact?
It is expected, but as you can see, we are discussing a specific regime of law that governs conduct and running of the affairs of the political parties. So there are laws to govern the conduct of, for instance, the operation of the CDF, all the other monies that these elected officials then handle. There's the NGAF fund, the National Government Affirmative Action Fund for the women reps. There is a set of accountability under those laws. So the person who enforces accountability is not the party that elected you. It is the laws of the country and the organizations that are there. For us as a party, we are audited by two institutions, the auditor of the Office of the Auditor General and the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. So I cannot lie to her. For instance, if I tell her that there is an office in Kirinyaga, she on her own accord should be able to go and ascertain that actually there's an office in Kirinyaga and this is where Sifuna sends the money.
42 county offices. How many constituency or sub-county offices do you have as a party? This is a party that has been in office, in existence since 2015.
Yeah, so the problem has been, Latif, that we have not had the resources to be able to put up the constituency offices. Even when we started this project of the county offices, it was on a pilot basis that, in fact, we expected the county offices to be used as launching pads for now to open constituency offices. I will give you the figure. We spend 50,000 shillings on each of those 42 county offices. That is 2 million shillings a month. That is about 24 million shillings a year. If you look at 24 million shillings out of the 200 million shillings that we receive, that's almost 10% of the money just going to the county offices. So if we were receiving the full complement of the political parties fund, it would be very easy for me to have offices in all the 290 constituencies. And even this 50,000 that we sent is not sufficient. It is just for the physical building, to pay rent, to pay the outgoings, and probably have one or two people working the grounds or as office admins. There are other needs that the counties require that we are not able to satisfy at the moment. So which is why we were having a discussion with some of our friends, and I was telling them, back then, this party used to depend on people's benevolence, that, I am an aspirant in Kamkunji constituency, I go and open an office and paint it. And then when I am disgruntled with the party, I've lost a ticket, it is painted the colors of another political party. So I said, when I presented this to the National Executive Committee, and I said, we will no longer depend on people's benevolence. We are a party that receives resources from the public. So the expectation is that nobody should go and claim they have opened an office in Karachuonyo on their own. And then who will staff that office? Because I need my officials to be the ones staffing that office. So, which is why you have seen sometimes we run into disputes with people who claim, we are only popularizing the party. We want to help the party. Even if you want to help the party, it has to be done in a coordinated fashion. You have to inform us as the National Secretariat so that I know that there is an office painted ODM somewhere in Kianyaga or in Kieni or in Runyenjes. You can't just wake up and open an office and paint it. Even you guys here at Spice, if you heard that there's somebody who has opened a branch of SpiceFM somewhere in Budalangi, you would be alarmed because you need to be able to know.
So what causes this? Is this a lack of understanding of the party structures, or is it a lack of party structures?
No, the structures are there.
For example, Jimmy Wanjigi has, you have had a run-in with Jimmy Wanjigi.
Yes.
He's even written to you officially and it's been published.
Yes.
On this particular issue, we want to support the party. I'm a life member of this party and I'm going somewhere and I find there's no party office. So we said, let's establish a party office.
Yeah, you see, this is the point that I am addressing. First of all, we want to move away from benevolence. Because at the end of the day, this goodwill of yours is not something that we can, depend on to last forever. Because when that goodwill goes, what happens to the office? Number two, you can't independently open it. As the National Secretariat, we should be able to know, I am required to maintain a register of assets of a party.
Yep.
This is one of the things that I am audited on. Sifuna, can you show me the register of the assets of a party? If a party asset, even if you have a list on an office, that is something you should list as an asset. Mm-hmm. So if somebody opens an office without reference to my secretariat, I cannot recognize that office as a party office. Mm-hmm. Number two, the people who man the office, the office is not a building. It's the way they say that church is not a building. It is the people who...
It's a congregant.
It's a congregant. So if you are going to open an office in Runyenjes, and you don't tell me that now you can send the officials of a party, who are the elected officials of a party, to man that office. You want to run your own parallel party delegates or party officials. That's not something we can allow. So we are saying, please keep your benevolence. If you will not, run it through us or run it in cooperation with us, and you find that it is too restrictive for you, that's the way you are writing me long letters about other things. Why is it difficult to do one line and say, Sifuna, we are opening an office in Runyenjes? You're sending me entire love letters. But you can't write to me and tell me that your intention is to open an office in Karachonyo. That is being dishonest. It is just being dishonest. His intention is not to support the party. He has ulterior intentions that he will tell us about when the time is right.
What do you suspect those are?
I don't know. Because,
What makes you think they're ulterior intentions?
Because, Latif, I've given you an example. If you want to support the party, you want to open party offices where you feel there are no party offices. I've considered that I only have county offices that I'm paying for.
Yep.
And the intention was then, when the resources are more, we are able to open the constituency offices.
Yep.
So that we move away from individual benevolence, right? So if you want to support the party, what is the difficulty in alerting us and saying, I would like to do this office here and here? You can as well, for instance, if you have you want to open an office in a constituency in Kakamega, and that constituency is the one hosting my county office. So you find there are parallel offices here. One is here, the other one is here. Those are problematic issues that should be able to be ironed out between the person donating and the receiver of the donation.
Number two, I was asking the question.
Number two, you
are
claim
there structures in your party on where the branches are going to be, how many people
the
should
structures
be served
are
by a
there.
branch, and the opening of establishment of new offices. Are there structures?
The structures are there, Latif. ODM is the most organized political party. You can take this to the bank. We have elections that start at the polling station. So at each polling station, we have an executive committee of 20 people who are ODM officials at that polling station. When they move from there, they elect the ward officials. So in each of the wards, there is an executive committee of 20 people that has representation of youth, women, persons with disabilities, and so on and so forth. So there's a chairman, there's a representative of women. The structures are there. Then from the ward, you come to the constituency, which is called the branch executive committee. So in each of the 290 constituencies, there is an executive committee. And then you come to the county, there's a county coordinating committee that now coordinates all the constituencies in each county. Then you come to the national level. So we have structures there. So in the absence of cooperation and coordination with these people, then you are essentially running a parallel party. So we have individuals who are members of this party, who understand the structure of a party, who are willing to work with existing structures. And then there are people who now want to come and work outside that process. And the funny bit is, City, for instance, you hear somebody say they want to be a presidential candidate of a party. And when you look at our rules, we are allowed 4 ways to pick candidates for each seat. So when you sign up, you subscribe to a political party, you subscribe to its rules and its constitution. We are bound by those rules and the constitution. Then if the constitution of the party says there are 4 ways, you can have a delegate system, you can have direct ticket that is backed by science, you can have consensus. If there's 3 of us, we sit and agree, and then there is that direct universal suffrage. It is also a method that is acceptable. then an individual comes and says, I subscribe to these rules, but I will only insist on a direct ticket. That is somebody with an ulterior motive.
So is it that he has presented himself for the presidency? Is it that he has presented himself for that nomination that is the sticky issue, or that he did not follow procedure?
No, first of all, he has not presented himself for the presidential ticket. Jimmy Wanjigi is not a candidate for the party's presidential ticket.
Is he a member
because
of the party?
when we opened the process, there were only 2 applicants, and they are known. So he has presented a request that I will submit to the National Executive Committee in the next 2 weeks, that process be reopened so that he can apply.
Is he a member of the party?
He is a member of the party. He joined about 2 years ago. So he has made a request.
2 years?
Yes.
He said he's a life member.
Yeah, he's a life member, but his life started 2 years
in
ago.
2018.
Yes. So the point I wanted to make is this. So all these processes you say you subscribe to, but then you come and dictate and say, no, for my case, I only want universal suffrage, or I only want direct ticket.
But Edwin,
is
that dictating, or is that showing preference?
It is dictating, because at the end of the day, you have subscribed to a list, a buffet. So what you do is you allow the party, you allow your other the new opponents. You can be insisting that you want a universal suffrage, but the opponents have all agreed that it is you. We want to give you a direct ticket. So you need to be patient. Number 2, if you want to know that somebody is genuine, Latif, if for instance we are looking for the chairman of Standard Group Reporters Association, and the rules require that you canvass votes amongst the reporters who work at Standard Group, then you find somebody canvassing for votes amongst mango farmers in Kilifi. Is that somebody who wants to be the chairperson of
Explain. Okay.
I will explain. So
Explain.
Somebody comes and they say they want to be the presidential candidate of a party,
Right.
and they want to go to Kasarani for the delegates conference. And you look at the rules of the party, and it shows you who the delegates who go to Kasarani are. It's the people who constitute the delegates. It's members of parliament. It is members of NEC like Sifuna. It is governors elected on the party's ticket. Yeah, those are the delegates. But then you find somebody.
Does the list end there?
I am telling you
NEC,
that is where the list.
MPs,
that is the list.
governors.
It doesn't end there. Those are the examples I'm giving you.
Who else
So
constitute delegates?
there is there's the members of standing committees of a party. So if you are in the legal affairs committee or in the disciplinary committee, those are the people who constitute the bulk of the delegates who go to Kasarani. Then you find somebody addressing
Are
a
there
market.
not delegates that are selected from all these other branches that you talked about?
Yeah,
From
the
board
branch
level?
chairman, like the branch chairman are part of the delegates. Those are 290.
Okay.
Out of the 3,000.
And branch chairmen are elected by members.
Yes, they are elected by members.
There you
Yeah,
go.
but they are existing branch chairmen as we speak today, Latif. So you would ordinarily expect that if somebody is canvassing for votes, he asks Sifuna, can I have the list of branch chairmen so that I go and have a meeting with them? Then I will give you the list. Can I have your parliamentary group contacts? I want to speak to them because they are delegates. But if you find somebody at a rally in Homa Bay,
yes,
those are not people who are going to determine the presidential candidate, then that person is not looking for the presidential ticket of a party. That is the point I'm making.
Okay, I think that the point that you're making is one part of a point.
What is the other part?
There's the other part of a point that if you want to be president, then you also want to popularize your campaign. Such that by the time even the delegates are coming to Kasarani or wherever these delegates are going to
Yeah,
meet,
but there
if
are
you're going
things.
to take them
There
to
are
Uhuru
things.
Park, wherever.
There are things that
the delegates
precede
will already be knowing that the membership of this party is skewing and leaning towards this particular candidate.
There are things that
and they need to
precede.
represent the wishes of the membership
There
of the
are
party.
things that precede others. So, if, for instance, your wife is pregnant, you haven't ascertained the sex of the baby. Why are you buying boy clothes or girl outfits?
I can start buying a baby cot. I can start buying a baby cot. I can start buying diapers.
But at the end of the day, that's
those
what I'm
are
saying.
obvious.
There are things that precede
A
others.
baby will come.
There are things that precede
A
others.
baby will need to be in a baby cot.
I understand.
So,
I am telling you.
Similarly, Edwin, I know I have a confidence that I'm going to win the ODM ticket for presidential nomination. So I am already also selling my agenda to the people. I'm not seeing what the problem here is.
No. I think there are things that precede others. And even under the law, there is a reason why party nominations come before the official period of campaign. That in fact, the IEBC requires that you conclude your nominations, hand in the Denis, what is it called? The list of your aspirants. Then they say, okay, now you go and canvass for votes.
We'll have a conversation, continue this conversation after the break. We're having a conversation with Edwin Sifuna, the ODM Secretary General. Very many things. So how is ODM positioning for the 2022 general election? We've basically just started on that issue of the presidential flag bearer, how you're going to select one.
Yeah.
We'll come back and continue to that. And then we'll talk about the others and how you shall make sure that you get more members into the National Assembly, more members in the Council of Governors, more members in the county assemblies as well.
Absolutely.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, 8:30. We're live on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, and online.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
In the quest of saving an ailing son, Sonia does the unthinkable. Will the guilt of her misdeeds haunt her, or will she come clean? Catch Mother's Guilt at 6 p.m. every Monday to Friday, only on KTN Home.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawokov?
I can't say it very well. No, you must watch Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi, 17 degrees. It'll come down to lows of 13 today. Looking like a chilly day, highs of 24. Nakuru, mostly sunny at 16, highs of 25. We'll see lows of 13. 14 will be the low in Nyeri, where it's raining at 15 at the moment, highs of 23. There's also some rain touted in Eldoret today, 15 degrees and sunny at the moment, however, highs of 23 and lows of 12. Kisumu, mostly cloudy at 21. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 19. Kakamega this morning is mostly cloudy at 21. Coming down to lows of 14, it goes to highs of 28. Mombasa this morning, light rain in some parts. Sunny conditions, however, for most parts of the morning, and then into cloudy later. Highs of 29 and lows of 24. It's raining in parts of Malindi at 26. We'll see lows of 25 and highs of 29. In Kampala, it's mostly sunny at 22. We'll see lows of 18. We'll see lows of 22 in a rainy Dar es Salaam this morning, currently at 25. Lagos, heavy thunderstorms at 25. Thunderstorms through the day, highs of 29 and lows of 24. And Joburg is cloudy at 11. It'll come down to lows of 9, highs of 22. Kinshasa, sunny at 22. We'll see that as a low and highs of 32.
Spice it, everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Packed in the city centre this morning, all roads lead into the CBD Nairobi. Jogo Road is hot and heavy. It was looking a little bit better earlier, but now all traffic jam-packed all the way from Hamza out towards the city centre, City Stadium roundabout, spilling onto Landis Road at the Kamkunji roundabout. Coming out of that Kileleshwa area, Chiromo, Westlands, Everybody getting onto Chiromo now and trying to get into the CBD. Gong Road also hot and heavy down through Community. And we're looking at Langata Road jam-packed. Oh, it would have been Bagathi Way to help you through, but that also is receiving a big hit with traffic this morning. Wednesday, in the middle of the weekend, everybody in the middle of the city. Shall we take it easy? Let us know if you find a good route. The bypasses looking good. Use them. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, SpiceFM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
The
Nairobi.
conversation continues in the Situation Room this morning, just like you have every weekday morning, Monday to Friday. Eric Latif, Nduoko, and C.T. Muga. Our guest today, Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General of the Orange Democratic Movement Party. We're talking about the party and its positioning for 2022. You were telling us about, what's happening now with the journey, if we shall ever conclude this journey of selecting a presidential torchbearer for the party.
Yeah.
You started a couple of months ago. You opened the process. You said you've closed it. You reopened.
We didn't reopen.
It's closed.
Yeah, it's closed.
So now we only have two candidates who are seeking the party's nomination.
It is closed, but we have received a request from Jimmy.
Okay.
Which request I will put to NEC, and NEC can decide what to do with that request. They can decide to reopen it.
So we have, who are the two that applied?
It was Governor Oparanya and Governor Joe, who are the two deputy party leaders.
The deputy party leaders.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Wanjege, who is a member of the party since
Has made a
2018,
request.
has made a
Yes.
request.
Yes.
Jimmy Wanjege is now going around the country and is popularizing his campaign. You're saying you have issues with the way he's approaching that campaign.
Correct.
We saw Jimmy Wanjege going to Nyanza over the weekend.
Yeah.
And he was in the news because apparently he was pelted with stones from some members of the crowd.
Yeah.
Was this something that the party felt was undeserving of him, or was the party aware that Jimmy Wanjege was going to Nyanza?
No, first of all, my office was not aware that he was going to Nyanza. But it's not as if making me aware is like seeking my permission. You don't need to seek anybody's permission to travel anywhere in this country. And that is why we roundly condemned what happened in Migori. Migori is a very interesting county because we have asked ourselves the question. Wanjigi was in Kisumu, nothing happened to him. He was in Homa Bay, nothing happened to him. Mm-hmm. He got to Migori and somehow something happened to him. Now, I say Migori is interesting because it is not the first time that members of a party or even senior party officials have faced very serious violence in Migori. You will remember there was a time where our deputy party leader, Hassan Joho, his motorcade was actually shot at, and one of his security men was actually shot in the leg. Professor Nyong'o, if you ask Professor Governor Nyong'o his experience in Migori, it was terrible. And these are things that are documented. So we think that it is, and I have spoken to the leadership of a party in Migori, Chairman Makabongo, and every indication is that it is the same terror networks that operate within the political space in Migori that are responsible for this. Latif, we operate in a very interesting political space. That in fact, yesterday was the International Day of Peace, and I was telling people, ODM is painfully aware of this tag of violence that is hanging over our heads, and there's people who are intent in making sure that tag sticks to us. But we have had recent confessions, even from some of our opponents like Sonko, to the sort of nefarious things that they were up to in the bid to paint ODM as a violent party. He told us. And these are things that we understand, that there are people who are intent on having that tag hang over us. They plan for things. Some of them set themselves up. They throw stones at themselves, or arrange for other people to throw the stones at themselves, or other people to arrange for the stoning to happen in places where it will be said that this is an ODM stronghold and this is something that is attributed to ODM. So I was not surprised that some of our opponents were quick to attribute the violence to ODM. Nobody in ODM is interested in stoning Jimmy Wanjigi. What does it even achieve? We have condemned violence because we have been subject to that violence ourselves. You remember Raila Odinga was stoned just recently in Githurai. We don't want that sort of rubbish. We believe that politics is persuasion, Latif. That in fact everybody should be allowed to canvass for votes everywhere. And if you don't feel like the person speaking or holding a rally is speaking to you or to your needs, don't go there. Just don't attend those meetings. Leave him to run around town alone.
But Migori County is actually very unique when it comes to the way they've conducted their politics. And it didn't just begin with ODM.
Yeah.
Even in the days when KANU reigned supreme, there is a situation where their councillors within the days of councillors, not MCAs, voted in a certain direction. And they had to vacate Migori and go to Tanzania.
Yeah.
Because, yes, and they stayed in Tanzania for a while. There are people who didn't quite agree with them. So, one could argue it's an independence of mind.
So Migori has independence of mind.
Yeah, but must it be violent?
But that independence does not have to be violent.
Must it
That's
be violent?
What I'm saying.
Maybe violence is actually not the majority. There's a minority that does not agree with this independence of mind.
I agree with you. In fact, Latif, many of the people of Migori are very good people. They are very peaceful people. But I have told you that there are terror networks that operate within the political space there. They are called Sangwenyas. They have a name.
But Edwin, terror networks have to be funded.
I absolutely agree.
It's a business.
I agree.
Spreading terror, hooliganism, thugism, it's a business.
So who benefits from it?
No, who funds it? Let's start from there.
Which is why, Latif, we asked the police, because this is something that is very easy to ascertain. It is very easy to follow the money and ascertain the people who fund this thing. So up to today, I've not heard from the police, but we are hoping that they take this matter seriously, because if you don't nip it in the bud and we're entering into the political season, it will become fashionable. It started in Githurai. We saw one instance where Gideon Moi was supposed to visit some elders somewhere. and somebody sponsored youth to block his path.
Yep.
And then it came to, Githurai. Raila Odinga's motorcade was pelted with stones. We saw some incidents even involving William Ruto. He was to attend some church somewhere and things turned ugly.
What about the by-election?
Yeah, even the by-elections, these by-elections involve me directly. I like to push pain to the back of my brain.
Right.
I don't want to experience what I went through in Matungu again and what I went through in Bonchari.
And even as you're trying to shed, even as the party is trying to shed this clear negative image of the violence, I mean, there has been that tag has been there for some time. Even as that is trying to happen, you're trying to make that happen. Looking at the structure that you've talked about, I think the words you use are the most organized party in the country, right? How far then does this organization go to the things that matter to Kenyans today? As the most organized party in the country, obviously there's a wherewithal that you have, and you have big real estate in the minds of Kenyans, right?
Yes.
When we look at the things that matter to Kenyans today, how far is this party going to ensure through your representatives, because in as much as they're the people's representatives, they're representatives of the party at the legislation level.
Yes.
How far are you making sure, or what kind of messages are you pushing through to make sure that the people that matter are being represented, that have the ODM tag?
No, I think we can be very proud of the ODM parliamentary group generally. Especially in this time where there has been some freedom and leeway in Parliament. Because we all know the difficulty that we faced in the first term, that in fact we needed to resort to physicality to even protect the things that are dear to Kenyans. You will recall the incident of the passage of the security amendment laws, where we had to,
pour water.
Be physical in defending your rights. So sometimes when you ask us these questions, we tend to wonder whether you forget all the things that members of this party have literally put their lives on the line. If you speak to Millie Odhiambo on the incidents on that day, it is terrible. After the laws were passed, Kimabavu, the way that they were, it is ODM then, in coalition with NASA, that went to court again to ensure that we rolled back that, that tide. Absolutely. In this current parliament, I am very proud, by the way, of the performance of some of our members, especially after, our friends in Jubilee ceded some of the leadership positions, whether it is Florence Mutua at education, dealing with the question of university fees, whether it is Gladys Wanga at finance, looking at the budget proposals and saying we cannot tax baby formula and bread and the others. These are things that they know they say a leopard does not change its spots. Within ourselves as ODM, within our constitution, who we are, there are certain things that we know for sure. You don't have to be told.
Edwin, since you brought up this discussion on their participation, tell us about the ODM legislators' participation in these issues that are now raging regarding fuel.
Now, this is a beautiful question, and I knew you would ask me. Now, on the question of taxation,
yes,
on the question of taxation, we have city to be honest with each other and look at the original scene. Why are the taxes where they are today? I'm telling you the truth. Because if you look at the current, for instance, regime of taxation on fuel and the conditions that were put upon the nation by the IMF in order for us to receive further loans to cushion the economy from the ravages of COVID, it is something that you have to go back to the original scene. The biggest problem we have is a problem of debt. So we are taking up debt, and these financiers and donors are looking for where their money is going to come from. When we lend you this money, how are you going to be able to pay back? So the conditions they put on a loan, when you are between a rock and a hard place, you need money to spur economic growth, to deal with your state-owned operations and enterprises like KQ that are facing financial ruin. You go to IMF, you say, I need 200 million shillings, $200 million. They tell you, okay, you are going to have to remove this equation of zero rating and the tax exemption on certain things. Yeah. So as a legislature, you are stuck with that question. How are we going to get this money without the pinch?
All right.
And it is not possible.
So the origin of this scene is debt.
The origin is debt. And if you look
at to a point where Parliament allowed the executive to borrow more by raising the debt ceiling.
I don't think that is true. By the time that the debt ceiling was being proposed to be raised, the debt was already on our books.
The debt was already on our books.
Yes.
And it was already at that point.
In fact, it is at that point. Eric, you can go to the figures and you can give me the figures. You are the facts guy. What is the debt that we had prior to the raising of the ceiling? I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. And what is there subsequent to that? Because the problem was we were taking up debt on infrastructure, large infrastructure projects that were not necessarily giving back to the economy. We spoke loudly against this SGR development, and my friend Jimmy has explained it better, that in fact the initial conception of the SGR under the Grand Coalition government had nothing to do with public funds. It was supposed to be a private, it was a PPP, like the road that is being built, the expressway that is being built out here, and that it was to run all the way from Nairobi to Mombasa to Malaba. That would then make economic sense, and even the other countries would support us in that venture.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we as ODM,
from the moment ODM joined the opposition in 2013, debt was coming from the Grand Coalition government. Debt was at 1.7 trillion shillings or thereabouts.
Yes.
Through these 2 terms of this current regime,
talk about the first term debt.
Debt has been rising.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the first term debt and even the second term. Before Parliament was requested and it accepted to raise the debt ceiling, there was already debt rising.
Yes.
But Parliament was passing every budget that was being brought to it without question. And members of ODM are not on record as having voted no to the finance bill.
I don't think you can say that it was without question, because if you follow parliamentary proceedings, questions on those budgets are asked, including the examples that I've given you on some of the proposals for raising of revenue in the current budget. You saw Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga removing the question of taxation on motorcycles, for instance, and motorcycle parts, because it says it was going to affect the people who deal in border and the others. So you cannot say that it was without question. I am proud, Latif, the chair of what is this committee, Public Accounts Committee, who is a member of ODM. He has sponsored a bill to actually require that now, if government needs to borrow anything beyond 1 billion, the actual borrowing, forget about the ceiling, the actual borrowing, it has to be brought before Parliament for approval. This is not something that exists.
Yeah, it's a good bill by Opiyo, and
so
allow me to take you back to that issue.
The one thing I want to request,
by the time every year budget is being presented to Parliament, yes, there are questions that are raised at committee stage, but the underlying recommendation is let's pass this.
No, that's not true.
The underlying recommendation of the budget
That's not true. I've given you examples of proposals that did not pass.
I'm saying the budget committee, the underlying, when it comes and says, yes, we have received the budget policy statement, we have 1 or 2 questions, but Mr. Speaker, sir, we have voted yes. Let's
No.
pass this.
I don't think that is true. I have given you specific instances where proposals came from Treasury that were turned down by that same committee. So it is not true that there is an understanding that we must pass it. At the end of the day,
at the end of it,
yeah,
there will be a recommendation from even this Gladys Wanga committee. Yes, even after saying let's amend this, and the other, they will come and say let's pass it.
But the budget has to be passed.
Let's pass
in
this particular
the
one.
That's the point. It doesn't have to be passed.
It has to be passed. The
No,
law requires that you have a budget, and there are timelines for that budget.
Yes. True.
So what happens in the absence of a budget,
No.
What happens?
Look,
you can cut everything out of it, but the budget has to be there, even if it is for 1 shilling.
Eric, let the functions of the government grind to a halt. If you have a budget, yes, but we've seen it happening in other parts of the world where people don't agree on the forward movement of a budget until they agree.
You do not have to pass the budget as presented.
No,
Not
you don't.
as presented. I think that is where we are.
There is no point.
That is where
There is
we are.
no
we
point
are not
where the
agreeing.
National Assembly has been asked by the government, we want to spend 2 trillion shillings, and they said no. Spend 1.2.
Latif.
But the thing is that this budget usually is passed. It's
You-
usually
you-
passed
you-
as has been presented.
No.
Regardless of
That is
whether
not
or
factual.
regardless of whether or not there have been, questions that have come up about it.
What's factual?
That is not factual.
What is
I have
factual?
given you specific examples
Yes.
Where
of
people have
revenue
raised
raising
issues.
measures
Yes,
that were
you-
proposed in the
yes,
budget
yes.
and were removed by Parliament.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
cannot say that it was passed as is. I am saying that it is passed with amendments. Even the current budget was passed with amendments.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. But those amendments, do they have proper effect or do they not?
You
Give
speak.
you an
You
example.
speak to the bread manufacturers. You speak to the people who buy bread.
Let me give you an
You
example.
speak to the people who are in the
We have
motorcycle
had-
industry.
We
They
have
effect.
hosted a
They have
member of the
effect.
Finance Committee, Shakil Shabir, here. And he has been sitting in the Finance Committee for a number of terms. He told us, for example, when the issue of raising the debt ceiling was brought, one of the conditions that was set by the committee was you must give us the debt register as Parliament. That is on previous financial year. Then they said that's a condition for raising the debt ceiling. So yes, we can see the sense that you're making. You are already at this position that you have borrowed a lot of commercial debt and you need to regularize this debt. So raise the debt ceiling so that you can play around with the figures. The next financial year, the National Treasury comes back to Parliament. In fact, even before the next financial year, in a couple of months, it comes back to Parliament with a supplementary budget. But members of Parliament do not go back and say, we gave you a condition, open the debt register, and you have not. So we are not going to approve your supplementary budget.
Yes.
We haven't seen that.
So I will
And that's why
refer.
I say-
I'll refer you to the comments of Honorable James Orengo yesterday, when he admitted that in fact Parliament as an institution, there are areas in which they have failed. For instance,
Areas.
the example that he has given, there are areas that they have failed. I mean,
And
they
the
are-
ones
they-
that-
they-
actually-
they have not been 100%.
Edwin,
And he conceded yesterday. He
Edwin,
said,
I have to ask
he
this
said
question.
it is going to be the weakest parliament that he has seen. And you know, Orengo has been around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He has.
I am personally, I'm not a member of parliament.
True, you're not.
He is a senior member of the party, and he was making the point that in fact this is not a question of political parties. It is a question of parliament as an institution.
Yeah.
In fact, there are certain expectations that examples that Latif is giving that they have fallen short of. I mean,
When a senior member of Parliament, a senior member of the party, states the obvious, okay? Are we supposed to clap and cheer him for telling us something the entire nation knows about? No.
That's not what we expect you to do.
What I thank him for
Yeah.
is being bold enough to say, folks, I'm part of this whole setup and we really have failed.
To
Okay?
be able to see what everybody else is seeing.
But let's leave failure aside. What have they succeeded in doing? Because the reason we vote our parliamentarians in is so that they can do things, they can achieve things. These things that they have done, given the demons and the difficulties that we are confronting right now in this country, what are these things that they have done that we can say, this one, it'll help us going forward? Because the refusal is not something punitive. It's not as though they want to stick it in the eye of the executive. No. Part of their function is to check the executive. And this executive isn't checked.
Yeah, okay. It is something that is conceded that we have problems with the current system, this so-called presidential system. It is conceded that it's not working for us. It was a conversation that, has been raging even during the BBI process. There were ways in which people were looking to see how we can then make the legislature, more effective. In the first term of Jubilee, and I will keep referring you to this, there was a complaint that members who were elected on Jubilee party then felt that they were part of the executive, instead of realizing that as legislators, the Constitution has placed upon them that legislative duty, oversight duty, to be able to hold the executive to account. The constitutional, measures that have been put in order for the legislature to effectively check the executive were effectively neutered in the first term. So
yes, they were.
There was no possibility of impeachment, let alone of the president, even of a member of the cabinet. You remember the fiasco with Waiguru, where a member of parliament was supposed to present a motion. Then there was a story involving a hotel somewhere and other characters that I don't want to go into.
There was a retreat.
Yes. So, I mean, we used to ask ourselves in the first term, what is it that the executive would do so that these people could take action? There was all the questions of all the court orders that had been disobeyed. There was all sorts of, executive overreach during that first term. And we were asking ourselves, these are the things that the Constitution says Parliament should be able to act. But the members during that time, they used to call themselves the tyranny of numbers, were riding roughshod over everyone, and they neutered it. So it is a conceded fact that, in fact, the institution of Parliament has not been up to the task. And there are various reasons and explanations for it. So instead of mourning, City, we had proposed some changes here and there.
Edwin, this isn't
we had proposed some changes.
Accountability.
Yeah,
Let's take a break. We've been live on KTN Home for the last 1 hour. Thank you very much for tuning in to KTN Home. We continue the conversation on SpiceFM, Nairobi 94.4, 87.9, Mombasa 102.5 in Kisumu. In Nakuru 96.0, Malindi 97.7, Nyeri 90.9, and Eldoret it's 96.7. ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna is here. We are talking about ODM's preparations for 2022 and also taking stock of how ODM has performed in the last... How many years have you been in existence? Since 2015. How many years are those?
Yes, about since 2005.
2005, yes.
So it's about 16 years.
16 years.
Yes.
All right, the conversation continues. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
So, 1.5 minutes, CT. It is not a complaint. What was it?
It is just fact stating. You see, again, why am I calling it fact stating?
Yes.
With what we refer to as the handshake in this country, the voice of what we refer to as the official opposition went silent. And the examples you give, true as they are, significant as they are, they're inconsequential in reality, because it doesn't deal with the heart of the problem. It's a piecemeal band-aid here, band-aid here.
I think you're being unfair, because if you look at the interventions that were put in place, the proposal came from the executive, especially at the advent of the pandemic, the reduction of pay on the people who are employed.
There are a number of things to talk about. Let's get to the top of the hour. Let's hear the news, and then we do traffic.
Okay.
And then take us through that rundown of what has happened.
Okay.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Keep it right here. We are live with Edwin Sifuna, ODM Secretary General. It's now 9 a.m. After the news, the conversation continues. And if you'd like to tell Edwin Sifuna something, we'll open up the phone lines as well. 0719-012-600. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. There are demonstrations along Outer Ring Road after a motorist allegedly knocked down a pedestrian. Angry protesters have lit tires on the roads demanding for justice. Police are yet to arrive at the scene to control the situation. We'll keep you updated on this story as it develops. Elsewhere, residents of the Majengo housing estate high-rise have been in court for the last 7 years battling eviction by the National Housing Corporation. The corporation has given them a vacate notice elapsing on Friday, which they believe is against the justice system as the court process is still on course. Majengo high-rise residents now say they'll today stage a demonstration against the National Housing Corporation at Majengo Estate to reject the eviction notice. Human negligence has been attributed to cause 90% of all reported fires. As the country marks the Fire Safety and Burns Awareness Week, LPG gas fire incidents have been on the increase, as well as gender-based violence-related fires. Majority of the patients were from the Nairobi region, as well as Kiambu counties, with 72% of all burns coming from Nairobi, mainly from Kibra, Kayole, Mathare, Kawangware, Mukuru and Pipeline. According to the chairman of Burn Society of Kenya, Shaban Saidi, the Ministry of Health reported more than 213,000 burn cases in 2020. Shaban also said most common cases of fires at the household level were as a result of human errors, which include drunkenness, domestic violence, leaving cook stoves unattended, electrical overloads and illegal electrical installations, as well as leaving flammable items near a fire. The Standard Group to Transform Kenya will today hold discussions around the competency-based curriculum at the Daystar University. The discussions will be live on KTN News from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The CBC has caused public outcry, with parents and guardians raising concern about the cost, assignments as well as teacher training.
Anapopewa kazi kwa shule, unapata akienda pale kwa nyumba, unapata mami nisaidie hii, labda ameambiwa waende wapige picha kitu fulani, unapata huna hiyo material kwa nyumba. Sasa unapata hapo ni changamoto kubwa sana.
Utafira wanahesabiwa hata waoshe vyombo, na bidi umuonyeshe step to step vile anafaa kuosha hiyo vyombo, kama ni manguo zake vile anafaa kufua, vile anafaa kupanga, na kazi yake pia vile ataipanga. Iko na jukumu kubwa sana kwa.
The CBC has as well seen a parent who is a lawyer and the Law Society of Kenya file a petition against the curriculum. There's also been a debate on the curriculum between former NAT SG Wilson Sosion and Education CS George Magoha.
They must engage their children, whether they like it or not.
Curriculum hailasimishwi, inajikwalify yenyewe kupitia pilot na inakuwa na alama. Ikipata alama zaidi ya 50 inaendelea, lakini ile 40 kupitia expert evaluator.
I have never found a CBC classroom not being attended to by a competent teacher. So what the hell are you people talking about?
Tunajua waziri wa elimu hataki kuhusisha chama. Kwa hivyo Wakenya wajue curriculum ile inakuwa rolled out, sisi hatumo huko.
Teacher Service Commission Secretary Nancy Macharia will today roll out the Teacher Professional Development Program at Kamaste Center in Karen. The Teacher Education and Professional Development Program supports education innovation in Kenya by providing technology-enhanced materials and training to improve the training of public school teachers that will improve learning in Kenya's public primary schools. Elsewhere, the search and rescue mission for 8 people who drowned in Lake Victoria after a boat capsized is still ongoing. Homa Bay Township Chief Joshua Ochongo said 2 people died and 6 others were rescued. He added that the 6 were receiving treatment at the Homa Bay Referral Hospital. The boat was transporting 16 passengers before sinking about 500 meters from Pierre's Beach in Homa Bay. The boat is suspected to have capsized due to overloading. And in business, investors on the Nairobi Securities Exchange yesterday lost about 54 billion shillings in paper wealth, the biggest single-day decline in 4 months, hit by a slump in the share price of market driver Safaricom. Data showed that the NSE's market capitalization fell by 53.8 billion shillings to stand at 2.776 trillion shillings, the largest margin of a daily decline since May. And finally, the Taliban have asked to address world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly this week in New York City. A UN committee will rule on the request. The Taliban also nominated their Doha-based spokesperson Suhail Shaheen as Afghanistan's UN ambassador. The group, which seized control of Afghanistan last month, said the envoy for the ousted government no longer represented the country. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Inbound on Mombasa Road today is actually quite heavy, still continues. Outbound also, that Imaradaima stretch is quite something today. Airport North, however, going towards Outer Ring doesn't look too ugly right now. I think you can get through without too much of a scratch. Industrial area, then the back way, and then connecting with Mombasa Road via Enterprise Road is an option if you're headed into Mombasa Road, and that's coming in from the city. Aerodrome is hot, it's heavy, all the way from the nearest roundabouts, connecting with Langata Road, Lusaka Road, heading into the city. Very tight this morning. Jogo Road also continues with that thing. And that thing is what? It is traffic. It's looking a little bit better on the Thika Superhighway, however, until you get to the Pangani underpass and then head out into the city, joining with Moranga Road and everything else that is the mess in the CBD this morning. Traffic, heavy. Let's keep at it. Hopefully we can get out soon of traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Just in case you're stuck somewhere, you find a good route that folks can use, let us know. Text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 7 after 9. It continues with Eric Latif, Nduoko, City Muga, and Edwin Sifuna. Today's proverb, City.
Today's proverb.
Yes.
A man who pays respect to the great paves his own way for greatness.
A man who pays respect for the great paves his own way for greatness. Mzuri. You agree, Edwin?
Nakubaliana nayo, ndio unaona sisi wengine wetu tuna pay respect to the great people kama Raila Odinga. Tunajua yetu pia ndio tunapea viani. Hapo nakubaliana na nyinyi kabisa.
Charting a path.
Yes.
As we came to the top of the hour, Edwin, we were talking about Parliament and the work that Parliament has done, and especially the opposition side of Parliament, the minority side of Parliament, led by ODM, which has a majority in the minority. Now, we are in a situation where yesterday members of the National Assembly, members of the Senate had to stop every other order of business to discuss rising cost of living occasioned by rising cost of fuel. And a big chunk of this is in taxation. And then we asked you, and you said, in fact, if we just look at the genesis, we look at the genesis from the spending of this government, the borrowing that has been done by the government, where it has been spent, and whether the government is actually able to raise the revenues to finance its spending and pay the debts.
Yeah.
And then you said, but there are things that members of ODM in particular have been pushing for in the last 7 or so years. What are these things?
Yeah, so I gave you the example of the bill that has been sponsored by Honorable P.O. Andai on a regulation of debt, that we don't just talk about it at funerals and say, oh, there's a problem of debt. The reason I was saying City was complaining, Eric, we have an over-elaboration of a problem in this country. Everybody knows how to elaborate the problem. Very few articulate the solutions. So instead of people saying there, debt, and economy, you can actually teach a parrot to repeat those words. That's not leadership. You need to be able to do something about it. So there is a bill on a ceiling on borrowing that requires parliamentary approval. I am very proud. I am very proud of my members in the Energy Committee that have begun an audit of the ISPs. In fact, frozen payments to independent power producers, and a review of those contracts that have resulted in very high energy costs. People like Elisha Odhiambo. And when you listen to them, in terms of the thinking even about the future of this country, they're talking about, Kenyan, not looking to drill, geothermal wells in other countries, yet we have not exhausted the potential here, and it could see a reduction in the cost of energy and so on and so forth. I am proud of my member for, the Women Rep for Busia, who's the chair of education. There's a few things that she has done there. You remember when there was the proposal to increase university fees, she was able to, these proposals come from the other side. And I have encouraged Kenyans, Latif. I have given them the example that, in fact, you people expect too much from a watchdog that saw you walk into the house with a thief, and then you blame us for not backing. I have said here, and I will repeat, that noise as a tactic is overrated. We made so much noise over the construction of SGR, the thing was still built. Yep. We made so much noise about the Eurobond, it was still built, and we are all paying the price. So what we are requesting you in 2022 is that instead of voting in the wrong people, then expecting accountability from opposition, give us the instruments of power. Let us be the originators of policy, not the regulators of the policy that is.
Let us see
coming from.
Let us see what you've done with what you've been given. So, ODM, for example, currently in this parliament is in charge of finance and budget.
From I think a year and a half ago.
Yes, and seeking accountability. Yes. Well, since the beginning, you've been chairs of PAC and PIC,
which are traditionally for
audit purposes.
Yes, absolutely.
So coming back and seeing Public Accounts Committee, how has the money been spent by government, public investments, how have the parastatals been running? Now you're also in charge of the Taxation Committee, Finance and Planning. The chairperson is an ODM member.
Yes.
If we look at that, and then we see the situation where Parliament has to step back and start asking these questions. What have these three committees done? There's a pure Wandai now, and that's a very good one, in saying, let's come up with this bill that sets a new relationship between the National Treasury and Parliament in terms of borrowing. But in terms of taxation, what has the Committee on Finance and Planning done to make sure that we rein in on taxation, but also at the same time, make sure that the money that is raised and that is being spent, the Public Accounts Committee can come and say, you have not spent the 3 trillion shillings that we allowed you to spend. You didn't spend it well.
Now,
when
that
all
is
members of
another
Parliament
office.
say 30% is going where?
That is another office. There is the Office of the Auditor General that then follows up on how money is used. And another thing I'm proud of the work that Wandai has done is that we are, for the first time, we are up to date in terms of the Auditor General reports. Because you remember there was a time when there was a big backlog and we were being criticized for that.
Yep.
But that committee has worked very hard, and I think they're up to date and current in the examination of those reports, although there was the problem of the long period where we didn't have an occupier in the Office of the Auditor General. But Latif, tuache maneno mingi. I am telling you to give us the power to be the originators of policy.
How exactly?
Forget about.
You have been given powers to oversight.
No.
Let's pave the ground.
How have you used
this is
the oversight powers
this is the point that I am making. You want to oversight our powers of oversight. I am saying that is okay. But if you want this country to move forward, give us the power to originate policy. Let other people oversight us. Unaona? Because I feel like there is an inordinate...
Explain what you mean, Edwin.
These policies are originating from the government in power. The committees in Parliament only act as a regulator to say, hii hapana, to oversight them, to correct them. What I am saying is that Kenyans have continued to suffer because of the bad choices they make at the ballot. Instead of you voting in the wrong people, knowing full well that you have an opposition leader who will make noise for you, why don't you give that person the power to originate policy? That is the question I'm asking.
So
it is ridiculous.
When you're at the
let me just finish
stage,
this.
Edwin.
Let me finish this, and you'll ask me the question. I sit in a very interesting office. Do you know, Latif, the sort of requests that come to my office? Whenever there's a problem in this country, people look for Raila Odinga. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
They come to Raila Odinga every time. Oh, there's a problem here. Raila Odinga. This is the guy with all the solutions. But when it comes to the ballot, we hear other arguments. So the other thing is that Kenyans have outsourced the defense of the constitution and our state to one individual. That in fact, if Raila Odinga is not speaking, people say, oh, we are now doomed. You know, this individual is human. He has an expiry date. He's like me and you. What happens to this state, this Kenya, if Raila Odinga is not there? What we must do is to accept the responsibility under Article 3 of the Constitution that we are all in this together. It is our responsibility, it's our job. And if indeed you know that Raila has the solutions to your problem, give him the instruments of power to originate policy. You will not be crying here.
I'm actually not on Raila Odinga. I'm
because
on,
an
I'm on the
ODM
members of
government
parliament.
Can I, at the members of parliament,
Yes.
Edwin, at the members of parliament
Yes.
who are tasked with the responsibility of legislation, representation, and oversight.
Yes.
Right? In terms of what they have done, we're not even talking about going forward. In as much as that is important
Yes.
in this discourse, we are saying right now, with the instruments that you have, what is it that you've been able to do to guarantee this satisfaction that people are crying about on
I
a
have
daily
given
basis?
you. I have given you those
Right?
examples.
So, from a political party level,
Yes.
right? How are you then able to guarantee? Yesterday we heard that, you know, the chatter is that we don't have people sound enough who are representing at that stage. How, as a political party, can you guarantee that the individuals who are being delivered are sound?
Okay. First of all, I have to say that if you look at the vast number of members of parliament that ODM brought to the House, they are individuals with very serious capacity. I can assure you that if you went per capita in political parties and said, these are the people who ODM presented for election, vis-a-vis the others, we are the party that makes a serious attempt at meritocracy. In the other political parties, it is mediocrity that people look for. In fact, for you to win the ticket of these parties, look at the examples here in Nairobi. Although, you know, performance and ability is a totally different discussion, but look at the people that ODM attempts to put on the ticket. Look at the governor candidate and his qualifications and experience in Nairobi vis-a-vis the Jubilee candidate. Look at the same in places like Kiambu. You know, I am one of the few people who was actually proud of the person who I lost to. But there are people who are actually embarrassed about the people who beat them at the ballot. Yeah. So you look at the list of people who contribute in parliament vis-a-vis the people who contribute at funerals. And you look at which political parties are these that these people come from. So please, ODM, we are doing well. We are doing better than most of these political parties.
Let me ask you, Edwin. In 2017, of course you don't have the figures.
How do you know I don't have the figures?
I'm just assuming. How many MPs did you sponsor?
I don't have the figures.
Okay. Now, roughly then, what percentage of your candidates across the country got elected?
We have about 92 people, members of parliament in both houses.
Right.
Yes.
So that's 92.
Yes.
That tells you that across the country, very many people agreed with the candidates that you had presented.
Yes.
And they voted for them.
Yes.
And there was an expectation.
Yes.
And that's why we are now auditing the performance of the expectation that was bestowed upon the 92.
That is okay.
Who are in both houses.
That is okay. And I have given you examples
so when you
of
say,
what they have
when you
done.
say the people then should also give, you know, ODM the power to be the one in charge of the executive, that's okay. That's a good argument that we can have. But what have you done with what you've been given?
We have spoken about what we have done, Latif. Don't make it sound like I have not given you examples of what we have done.
Edwin,
in the Senate,
you have
the
said,
best senator,
in
terms of legislation and debate
you have said
is
that
my deputy at the party,
right now,
Honorable Agnes Zani.
Right.
So it is not as if we have refused to give you we have been talking about all these things, what the Committee of Finances has done, what bills have been sponsored by our members of parliament. I have given you examples of the actions that are being taken to rein in the cost of electricity.
Let me tell you,
what else do you want?
Edwin, no one is saying your party has done nothing.
Yes.
No, those are the things I am saying we have done.
And we are not saying you have done nothing.
And we are not saying you can't ask us. You are free to ask us. You elected us and we are an accountable party. That's what I'm trying to do here.
Let me give
but
you
the flip side of it is that there is a greater responsibility on the originator of policy. That is where you can arrest these things.
That's very true.
Absolutely correct.
And we give the minority in the National Assembly the power to make sure that they put that person.
Actually, it is not on the minority. It is on Parliament as an institution,
yes,
because we have a presidential system.
Correct.
Yes.
Very correct. And that's why now we are going back into this Parliament and asking ourselves, when taxation has gotten to this point, when the country has been allowed to spend from 1-point-something trillion shillings budget in 2013 to 3-point-something trillion shillings 7 years down the road. And that expectation is that we are going to be able to raise the money locally to finance that budget. And it's clear to Parliament, everybody plus their cat can clearly see that we are not going to be able to raise this. What have members of ODM done? They have, on record, voted yes to raising the budget, to raising the debt ceiling, to taxation, to this taxation measure that we have. Yes, they have others that have been removed. But what we have right now is still paining us. It's a high excise duties,
I have
high
told
taxes
you,
and levies on petroleum.
I have told you, and please don't make it sound like the things I say here, you guys don't actually hear them. Because we have had the discussion on how the decision, for instance, was made to remove, zero ration of certain items and even, to include some things in taxation.
In fact, we spoke with Gladys Wanga at that point.
These IMF conditions were, you have gone to look for money to spur an economy that is lagging under the COVID pandemic.
Watch of Parliament.
Under the COVID pandemic, this is a global issue, Eric. It has nothing to do with Kenya. Let me tell you, it is not the definition of journalism is not to score a point that in fact you have found wrongdoing somewhere. We have conceded that in fact Parliament has failed us. I mean, as an institution, it has failed. You have very tough choices you have to make as a legislator when you need this money, and these are the conditions that are being put in place. And it is because of an original sin. We have a discussion about that. We already have this date in our books. So when you ask me, what has ODM done? I am telling you that it is possible to reverse this trend, to have an opposition that won't need even to say anything, because the policies that are coming from the people in power are sound policies. So when we talk about what we want to do for the country, city, you need to expand the tax bracket instead of milking the few people who are in the tax bracket to the bone. You need to expand this tax bracket. You need to encourage investment in this country. If people are coming to this country and running away because they can't set up an industry here, from the moment they land at the airport, the person carrying their luggage wants a bribe to the chief in the area where the project is to be set up, and people run away and set up industry in other places. How are you going to create more revenue for the country? If you are looking at, there was a very good source of taxation, like it was a new sphere of taxation, source of taxes, this betting industry. And when they realize this is the goose that lays the golden egg, they have killed it. They have strangled it, So how are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them and killing their new enterprise. What we are telling you people is give people who can generate sound policies. In fact, an ODM government will not need an opposition to check.
And that's the
because
point.
you only check bad manners. You don't check good manners.
That is why I'm checking you.
You are checking a person in the opposition.
I'm checking
check me when I'm in power.
I'm checking you here because I'm saying that
what I would like you to do.
We have agreed.
What I would like you to do is to support my candidate for president. And support my candidature as a legislator.
Then we can I'm willing to do that.
Edwin, have we
if you show me that you have the capacity, and that's why I'm asking the question.
Yes.
So that you can demonstrate that capacity.
Yeah.
Just looking back at what we have agreed, this is a presidential system. Parliament is a very independent organ, all right? ODM has a very strong voice in Parliament, right? Now, with ODM's very strong voice in Parliament, what we're expecting to see is we looking back and saying, you see, this ODM,
I have given you those instances.
It raised the issue
of bread taxation, of motorcycle taxation, of taxation of baby formula, of stopping independent power suppliers from being... those are the examples we've given.
Can I now just give you now this one right here? As
just
voice.
Say it so that we conclude.
We have all agreed, even here and elsewhere, that those issues of bread taxation and those were just herrings that could be plucked.
Which one did you want to be removed from budget so that you feel satisfied?
VAT on fuel.
But my brother, I have told you the genesis of VAT on fuel.
Yeah.
I have told you the genesis of VAT
on fuel. We are a sovereign state.
Yeah. Right?
We cannot be dictated to by an IMF.
My friend, the person who gives you his money.
Eric, we can. Actually, we can.
It's their money.
Actually, we can. We can actually be dictated to by IMF.
if we don't want to be dictated by IMF, then we don't take their
Correct.
money. But once we take their
We
money,
don't put ourselves in
Unakataa mambo ya sponsor na niye amelipa
we
rent.
don't put ourselves in a position where we have to go
Correct.
against.
the IMF.
Correct.
And we got there.
Now you are getting there.
We got there under the watch of ODM.
What do you mean?
But
What do
he-
you mean?
but he is
This
right.
is a desperate attempt at
But we're
apportioning
in Parliament.
blame
Actually,
that
no.
is not going to work.
But Edwin,
When
can we pause for a
this is
second
the-
and not look at it as trying to find fault with ODM?
You are trying to force
No.
fault.
Yeah. The
Under
discussion,
the watch of ODM.
no. Trying to look for ways in which accountability can actually be practiced in a way that the results are palpably positive on the public is what you're seeing here.
No, it's
Because
okay.
when you talk about an economy, the function we seem to focus on national government, the money the national government has, what it does. What we forget is that with 47 counties, all these counties are governments.
Yes.
All these counties generate revenue. I would have asked the question, what is it that ODM does with the counties where they are?
That is now a better discussion because I am the executive in about 13 counties. That is a question you can legitimately ask. But for someone to say that we got into this hole or under the watch of ODM is to be disingenuous because it is not as if when this debt was piling up, Eric, it is not as if you didn't hear our voice. I have told you that the loudest noise against the loans from China to build SGR that was not going to be sustainable came from us. And I've told you, if you live in this country, you know you have to be honest, even with history, Latif.
Yes.
It is not as if we didn't make noise during the first term when this debt was piling up.
Yes.
We have gotten to a situation where your bilateral partners are telling you that yes, we know you need to inject some money into the economy because of Corona, but these are the conditions. So you are caught between a rock and a hard place.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Edwin,
Ultimately, Edwin.
But it is not fair for you, and I would like you to take back that statement.
I will
that
not.
we are where we are under the watch of ODM.
Let me tell you.
Yeah?
Parliament
Because even when you
decisions,
say
decisions
you're
in Parliament,
measuring our capacity so that you know
decisions
what we will
in
do
Parliament,
in 2022.
Edwin, are not made by noise. They are made by votes.
That's what I'm telling
If
you.
you
That's
show
what
me
that's what I'm telling you.
ODM members of Parliament have been voting no to raising the debt ceiling, no to the budget,
That's what I'm
to an
telling you.
increasing budget. If you
Latif,
show me
then-
that ODM MPs, when the first budget was brought in, they voted no. The second one, they voted no.
You can't vote
Consistently
no
voted.
on a budget. I don't know why we don't understand
Edwin,
each other.
let me- let me
You
help-
say
Edwin, let me help you here. You see, do you understand why this is extremely?
Why is it put to a vote?
Why this is extremely?
If you cannot vote no, why is it
Why
put to a
this
vote?
is
it is
extremely
brought to you
important
to
is
amend
because-
before you make the vote.
And then
but a
finally-
vote has to be taken.
Yes.
After you are satisfied yourself that you have input the checks and balances that you need.
But-
That
But
means
at the
that
very
yes.
minimum, there are things that you can't change.
But Edwin,
Yeah.
the vote doesn't have to be yes.
No, this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you guys. What you do when you're saying you want to measure our capacity with the small things that we've been given. Just
We're not
a
saying-
minute.
we're not
That's
saying
what
we want
he
to
said.
measure your
That's what he
capacity,
said. That's what he said.
Yes.
It is like trying to measure an elephant by its ability to climb a tree. What you do, measure us in the capacities we've been given. The conversation he was going to is more,
Is more like it. Huh?
it's more like it
I
than what
have
you are.
many
what you're
questions
saying.
on that,
so
but let's
Edwin,
come
Yeah.
why
later.
this is important is because you said something.
Yes.
You said, look, then give us the responsibility.
Please.
Give us the chance to be able to do that. I don't know of a profession responsibility on the planet whereby somebody's just going to give it to you without looking at what it is that you've been able to do
Perfect.
in the past.
Perfect.
Right?
That is a conversation we can have.
Now,
Yes.
today,
Yes.
if what you're suggesting actually comes through, whereby you say, at the party level, give us that opportunity to even suggest who these people will be, and then come to us later and ask, why did your person X, Y, Z not do this? 1, 2, 3, right? So today, across the country, on issue, on policy, on implementation, whereby ODM is represented, what is it that is being carried out that I can look and say, actually, you know what? This is a decision I can make based on what I am seeing today.
Dude, that is why I brought in the discussion of the counties. Because
Yeah.
the counties are a government and ODM has counties whom the leadership
They
at the
have
helm
influence.
are ODM members.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking for examples that one can, I would say, okay, national government, ODM, there's a limit
you
to
don't
what
have that. You don't
ODM
have
can't
in
really
the
do
executive,
anything.
yes.
Absolutely.
However, county government, you have a say.
So let's be specific.
Let's go.
2013 to 2017, how many governors were from ODM?
I think we had about 17 or 15.
15 governors. How many came back after the 2017 election?
Not many, but we retained about 13 of those counties. Actually, 15 of those counties.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the performance then of those counties to date in terms of development, in terms of saying...
I think it has been mixed. There are some counties that have done very well, just like counties that are run by our friends in Jubilee, and there are counties that have not done very well.
Yeah.
It is something that is admitted. Yeah. We are very proud of performances of governors in Kakamega, in places like Kisii, in places like Mombasa. There are some... Yes.
Mombasa?
Absolutely. Mombasa,
Really?
when it comes to healthcare, I don't think there's a county that can beat Mombasa on the work that have been done when it comes to healthcare.
Actually, it's exemplary.
Yeah. So
But
you give credit where it's due.
I am not saying it is. When you say healthcare, I say yes, and a huge yes. And then
Yeah,
after-
but you wanted examples of how well we have performed.
well
I am giving you examples
And I'm
of
accepting.
healthcare in Mombasa, healthcare in Kilifi, roads in Kakamega, and other things.
The reason why I did not comment about Kakamega
Yes.
is because the indicators by which I am judging a county governor is not on one particular area.
Yeah.
If you've done well in one area, excellent. There's
Yes.
no question about
Yes.
it. But the whole purpose of all these activities are to better the lives of the individuals
Correct.
who live in that county.
Correct.
Okay? In all spheres.
Yeah.
So fine. Health, tick. In fact, huge tick. What else?
Yeah, I was giving you the example of roads in Kakamega. It is something that everybody acknowledges.
Kakamega almost in every sphere.
So what you
you'll
do?
find a big tick.
Thank you. So I mean, you have the answer, City. What are
So-
you looking
No.
from me?
So is
what are
this-
you looking from
is
me?
this- is this-
What do you want me to say?
Is this-
I
is this
have considered
individuals?
that people have done well in
Is
certain
this-
spheres, in certain counties, and others have not performed as well as the others.
Very well.
Yeah.
Now, you know why this is a very interesting conversation, and I'm happy that we've gotten there.
Yeah.
Is I look at when ODM as a party wants to lead the country, and then it has this golden opportunity where you have a very sizable number of counties under ODM governor and deputy governor,
Yeah.
and a majority in the county assembly.
Yeah.
And this is just my wish and my thinking, was that we would have seen ODM organizing caucuses where you have conversations with these governors coming together as ODM governors and ODM counties, and then saying, this is what our manifesto was for the country. How does it cascade to these counties? And then we come back and say, look, in the counties where we had a majority in the county assembly and we had a governor, this is what we have done. So Kenyans, if you give us the opportunity to run the country, this is
So
the
Latif,
blueprint of what we can have. Do you have that?
you can romanticize about these things, but the truth of the matter is that everything in this country is done under a specific law. You look at political parties and you imagine we have all these powers that we do not have. And off air, we were talking about all the powers. Having been a leader of a political party, there are things that I wish we had in place. For instance, we have had this conversation. What is the relationship between Kenyans, politicians, and political parties? That is where you need to begin. That is where you need to begin. Most of the times, and this is something that you should know because you're political pundits, that in fact these political parties are vehicles that people use for them to be able to
get
access
into
power.
power.
They have, in most occasions, no relationship whatsoever with the party, its philosophy. And after the election, we have very little influence on these characters. In fact, we have been unable to discipline even some of our members who are elected on our ticket because we have very weak laws that do not give political parties the sort of power that we're looking for. I have, for instance, in our discussions with the Register of Political Parties, other political parties at CMD, I wish that there was a law that would require that if your governor is elected on an ODM ticket, say in Siaya County, then when he's constituting his cabinet, he even has reference to you. At the very minimum, has a reference to you so that I can inject expertise and people who have, soaked up the party ideology and philosophy, and people who can actually help this governor to do the things that were in the National Party Manifesto.
But is there anything?
But
is
the
there any
law
law
is
that
not
bars
there.
you?
But
Is there a law that
there's no
bars
law
you?
that enables you to do that
Is there
because
a
what
law-
we'll do,
is there a law that stops a governor from doing that?
he will not listen. That's what
Why?
I'm telling you, because the relationship between politicians
Between the
and
governor
the
and
party,
the party,
is that this is a vehicle that I use to get to office. You need an enabling law that allows political parties to have powers over the people who are elected to those positions.
Oh.
How many members of parliament
So
have you
ODM
seen?
then cannot claim the credit,
Not ODM.
credit from
Not
from these
ODM.
governors that
Not
you've just
ODM.
done.
Just talk to any
party.
party
It's true.
and ask them, what is the sort of influence that you have? We are saying we can take credit for some of the work that has been done. I am saying I wish I had more powers as a political party leader, so that if there are deficiencies, because I have considered that not all of our governors have done a stellar job, if there were deficiencies, and I would say we would like to improve agriculture in Busia.
Yep.
Yeah? I have an expert here who's not necessarily somebody who's a friend of a governor who can get this position, but as a political party interested in seeing Latif
Agriculture.
happy with how ODM conducts its affairs, I can inject this person into the county government of Busia.
Let's take a break and then we'll take calls. 24 minutes to 10, Kenya's biggest conversation. Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General of ODM, is in the house. Good morning.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, ni mtu wa jinsi loko.
And everyone knows.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. SpiceFM.
The
Cloudy
weather
conditions in
with
Nairobi
Spice.
at 18, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Nakuru is mostly sunny at 17. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 13. 14 will be the low in a wet Nyeri town today. Highs of 23. And looking into Eldoret, sunny conditions now at 17, highs of 23 and lows of 12. Kisumu is partly sunny at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 19. And in Kakamega, it's sunny at 24 as well. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 14. Mombasa this morning, light rain still in some parts, cloudy conditions in others, 27, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Malindi will also see wet conditions through the morning, 28, highs of 29 and lows of 25. Kampala is mostly sunny at 23. Dar es Salaam, light rain as well at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 22. Joburg, mostly cloudy at 11, coming down to lows of 9, highs of 22. Lagos, rain showers continuing from heavy thunderstorms, highs of 29 and lows of 25, and it's sunny in Kinshasa at 23. That'll be the low for today, highs of 32 to be recorded out east. In Beijing is 29, that will be the high, lows of 17. And Paris this morning is sunny at 10, highs of 20, down to lows of 10. London, sunny skies at 13, highs of 22. And early Wednesday morning is wet in New York, see highs of 25 and lows of 22.
Spice up your life.
In and outbound traffic on Mombasa Road continues. We saw that outer ring issue has been sorted and the ruckus that was being caused there has been adequately cleared away by traffic police and others. Right? So outer ring traffic is back to a dull roar, not too bad. And the city centre evening out just a little bit. The traffic coming in from industrial area and that of Langata Road looking much better now. So Langata Road, the southern bypass, spilling onto that, not so bad this morning. The city centre not taking too much of a beating, at least for now. We're getting out of traffic hour. That Muthui stretch, however, coming from Muthui Square, the Pangani underpass continues to be a thing. Let's watch out for that. But we should be okay with the traffic situation, at least for now, until we get into early evening. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE through the day. Text on 40127.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
20 to 10. Okay, so there's something that happens around this time of the year. At around this time, 9:40 a.m. for about 5-6 minutes, satellite interference with the signal, and this will happen for a week.
Allah.
So for about 5 minutes, we go off air for a bit between 9:40 and 9:45, 9:46. And I see that's a concern being raised. I'm thinking when the discussion involves the government or goes against the government, there's interference on the signal. It happened yesterday. It's happening again today.
Conspiracy theories arise.
No, actually, thank you very much for raising that. But yeah, it's a technical issue. It's a global issue. Teddy is on the line, and he'd like to have a conversation with Edwin Sifuna. Good morning, Teddy.
Good morning. Yes, good morning. How are you, Latif?
Very well.
I would like to begin by saying that rivers never go reverse. So let's try to live like rivers. Forget about the past and focus on the way forward in the future.
Okay.
And always to be positive. I would like to say that whatever the legislators are doing right now, it seems to me that they want to reverse the river, which is impossible. It's a high time that the committee that has been given that mandate to work on it in 14 days for us to be able to iron out the issues of fuel pricing. I would also like to laud Bwana Sifuna the way he's trying to make things very clear to Kenyans. And the truth of the matter is, you know, when a lie is repeated so much, it actually, again, looks like it's a true statement. So you realize that much as you're asking him so many much questions, there is a reason as to why we should separate Kenya as a country, political parties, and politicians. A good example, we have a governor down in Nyeri. Everyone knows what is happening because the issue is actually in the corridors of power.
Of justice.
Yes, of justice, yeah. You see, the party is unable to even punish that particular governor. And what happens in Kenya, the moment you make a mistake, you tend to run to another political party for you to be able to get that sympathy from the other end. And we've seen this happening. So I think the biggest people to blame here are the voters, or the people who actually vote these people in. Because at the end of the day, as Sifuna puts it, a political party is actually put there for you to get to that power, and then...
Can I ask you a question? Since you're blaming the voter, would you blame yourself?
Yeah.
And what would you blame yourself for?
I blame myself because I didn't take time to vote policies, but I voted pomposity. And that is the biggest problem that Kenyans are having. Those people who are like, they come and, you know, like what is happening right now?
It's drama.
Drama, yeah. You know, everyone abuses the other person and you are there clapping, cheering, and, you know, making him look like a hero. That is a very wrong...
So what are you going to do different?
What we have to do different. First, I'll tell you as a scholar, people need to be sensitized. People need to be told the truth.
Are you saying that people don't actually know the truth? For instance, do you think people don't know that when politicians are at podium that half the time they're lying to them?
basically, that is the question that beckons. But the truth of the matter is, as much as we voted them, again we go complain. Why do you complain from the word go?
Complaining in this country is a national sport. You must look at it in those terms. It's something we all engage in because it's something we all enjoy doing. Complaining. It gives us some pleasure.
I know, but until how long shall we complain?
Yeah, we've got to get to a point where we change things.
If Sifuna puts it, I concur with him 100%.
Right. Okay.
It's a high time that we should get people of sanity into these offices.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you so much.
Lovely day in boy. Let's go to Nakuru. Zachary.
Oh, good morning.
Morning.
First of all, I have been told to ask you what is a situation outage, something like that, yeah?
Yes.
Because right now I'm only getting music from my transit, from my radio, yeah?
Yep. Sun outage is this phenomenon where satellite, Manenos, sun, interference. We are off air for 5 minutes.
You can blame ODM.
Okay.
We might as well throw it in the bag.
Yes, they did not pressurize the government adequately to stop this outage.
Yes. Thank you. Now, I collectively say greetings to you. Thank you, Omuofia. How is Omuofia there, you know? And that guy is very eloquent.
He's called Edwin Sifuna.
Sifuna is very, very, very eloquent, and he's the right person to be the spokesman for ODM. And I know, or I guess that chances are that the right Honorable Mr. Raila Odinga is listening, yeah? And we congratulate him because the freedom that we have is actually out of his sacrifice, yeah? One of the many people who sacrificed, yeah? But then, after we got the freedom, yeah, his actions and utterances, he came to identify himself as a person who possesses everything, a person who is want to what do you call this? A criminal, yeah. And definitely he doesn't agree on anything. Now, let me ask Mr. Sifuna on a right note, yeah?
Yes.
I would want to stay that day. In fact, if I was given a chance, I would want to stay that day or two with Mr. Odinga. And I see whether he really agrees that you are a Mr. Sifuna and your name is written, it should be written. Does he sometimes disagree with you that you are not Sifuna? Does he sometimes disagree that the sky is not blue?
He wants to spend a day with Raila just to see this image that has been painted of Raila. He's constantly, opposing to everything, whether it's actually true.
But
point made, Zachary. Point made.
All right.
Thank you, Zachary.
Point made, Zachary. Thank
Audrey in Kino.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Very well.
Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Sifuna.
Morning, Audrey.
So, yes, I have a bit of issues with your members.
Okay.
Especially the elected members. You say that you want ODM to be now given the position to be making the policies we have in government right now.
Yes.
Now, let me just mention this. The first term of the Jubilee government, the ODM party was out and open about the debt situation we have in the country. But ever since the handshake, we even have your party leader speaking out and saying that there can be no development without borrowing. As you can see, that is a huge turn from what was being spoken before. Is it because now that you're in tandem with the government, or is it what exactly is bringing this turn? And I'm originally from Rongo constituency. And in Rongo constituency, when we had the elections, we had a very capable candidate, and that was the people's choice. And I remember yesterday, Farah Malim said that most of these MPs are not the people's choice. They were rigged in. And in Rongo constituency, we can actually say that the current MP we have was rigged in by the party. So my question is this. You want us to give you the the opportunity to lead to be the government, basically. Are these issues that we will keep seeing in the areas around where you're fronting candidates, where we are having people who are not people's choice being taken in by the party and the people's choice being left out?
Good point and good questions. Thank you, Audrey. Joseph in Westlands, good morning.
Morning. I have a question for Bwana Sifuna.
Okay.
Yeah, slowly I'm becoming I'm rather being inculcated into a school of thought of Latif on a discussion we started last week where I feel like we should be given an opportunity to say that the candidates that are presented for me at the ballot, I'm not comfortable with any of them.
Yep.
So I was looking at this. Where does this originate from? For Sifuna, then this comes in at a point where it starts from the nominations, where that candidate who has the vision, who has the foresight, but lacks the financial muscle or the connection with the big guys at the Orange House, they lose on the positions of being nominated on such grounds. And then at the end of the day, we are presented with the laggards we are used to, who do not give us anything for value at the end of the day. So I'm asking, what is there or what policies have they placed in place to ensure that at the end of the day, we
free
get
and
the
fair
right
nominations?
Yes.
All right. Good question. Moha.
Yeah.
Now, Moha, the day before yesterday, you said you have been voting for Raila Odinga. This time, story has changed. The man who speaks for the party is here. Speak to him.
Now, Edwin Sifuna, I believe Sifuna comes from a town where there's a famous field called Poster Ground. I believe he knows it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That is the first place I attended ODM rallies.
Mm-hmm.
And since back then, I've been a supporter all through and through. But what I've come to realize, you guys, the interest you champion is that of the party leader. That is, you can try and make a lot of noise about that, but that is a fact. It has taken me a while, but I've come to realize that what you do is what the party leader wants. The person who voted you into parliament doesn't even register, leave alone matter. They don't register anywhere. Now, Sifuna has been talking about the genesis of the problem with the fuel tax. So, in other words, fellow Kenyans, what Sifuna is saying is what is going on in parliament right now, and the few noises that some of the members of parliament are saying that, the cost of living is high because of the fuel prices. What Sifuna was simply saying is that this is just a gimmick. It's a show. They are not going to change anything.
Yeah.
That is the truth of the matter. Nothing
is
going to
change.
change.
Is that what he said, really?
No. Well, that is what he means.
That's what you understand.
Exactly.
That's the message you get out
because
of this.
He's saying that is the genesis. The genesis is the debt levels and what have you. But they have approved the rising of the debt level being the debt ceiling being risen. The rising of the debt ceiling. They have approved it. Okay. He was just asked there by Latif whether there's a legislation that was brought to Parliament, and they took a stand and voted no.
Moha, when I was listening to you yesterday, it was clear that this is something you've thought about, but it's something that bothers you. Let me just say this. If you're talking about political parties and you want to move to another political party, please don't expect that you'll see things differently or that you'll see anything that is different from what you're seeing.
He's not moving to a party.
Yes.
He's out of parties.
I'm not moving to another party. In fact, I've made a point whereby I think I'm going to lean towards independent candidates.
Okay.
I think I'm going to try. That's the direction. I want to try independent candidates.
Excellent.
Sawa. Let Edwin respond to you.
Okay. First of all, I don't think it is fair to say that the interest of the people who elect, these members of parliament do not register. All the things that we've spoken about today, these are not things that go to benefit the party leader. Raila Odinga does not even eat bread. So removing taxation on bread is not to help Raila Odinga. Yeye anakulanga chai na ngwashe. Raila Odinga is not in the border business. Removing taxation on border is not helping Raila Odinga. Yeah.
I think what he meant
so
was
at
not,
the end of the day,
not
at
for
the
his
end of the
benefits,
day, at the end of the day, it is not correct for you to say that in fact the people who are elected don't have the interest of the people who elected them. We were just discussing about the roads in Kakamega, the hospitals in Mombasa. Raila Odinga does not go to hospital at Coast General. If he's unwell, those things are done for the people who vote for them. Number two,
means, as you were saying this, I think it's important that you respond to the right question. What Moha is talking about is what determines how a member of parliament is going to vote is the stand taken by the party leader. If the party leader is on this side, he feels
I don't think so.
that members will vote on that side because that's where the party leader is.
I don't think so. We have had instances of many members of parliament voting different to the direction of the party. But we have a system of elections and politics in this country where political parties have a say on some of the things that happen in the House of Parliament. This is why we have parliamentary groups, and there is a concept of the whip in other jurisdictions as well, and that the party can take positions from time to time. I remember when the initial proposal for VAT on fuel was brought. If you go to the clips of the people who are singing out there, out of parliament saying, we are not going to do this thing, it was ODM members, they were there, and some of the Jubilee members. In fact, I got into a lot of trouble, if you remember, as ODM SG, when I went to a funeral somewhere and I said the vote in parliament was actually not accurate because everybody could hear where the nays and the A's were.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things, Latif, at the end of the day, you can struggle to pin fault on us as politicians, as leaders of political parties, but we know who we are. Now, here's, let me go to Audrey. No, Joseph from Westlands.
Joseph and Audrey, I think, have similar questions.
I'll speak to Joseph from Westlands. He says, first of all, politics is not for the faint-hearted. I tend to see that many people who are would-be aspirants, they want a fairy tale ride. They want things easy. They want to be assured and pampered. Like SG of ODM is expected to be a chief comforter. I'm supposed to take away all your fears when you are an aspirant. Sifuna, will the process be free and fair? There's somebody who's already saying he has the ticket. Then I ask you, he has said he has a ticket. What have you said? Anasema anapiga kifua, namuuliza na hii yako ukipiga itavunjika. Because at the end of the day, you get into this thing with resolve and you say, I am going to seek for the ODM ticket for Nyakach constituency. And come rain, come sunshine. I don't know anybody at Chungu House, but I am going to do it. Okay. This is something that people keep saying just to besmirch the party. I have put in so many reforms, and people can see. When I became SG, they said, we don't want this elections board that was being led by Pareno. We have an entirely new board.
Different board.
Yeah? We have done almost 15 by-elections where I have conducted party primaries. No complaints whatsoever, even from places like Kibera that were hot.
The assurance,
the assurance I want to give any person, first of all, make a decision that you are going to join politics. Commit to that decision. There are going to be challenges. People are going to scare you. You are going to lack resources. You are going to lack many things. But please, once you make that decision, commit to that decision. Then, and in ODM in 2022, some of these things people complain about, they were happening in 2017. I was not the SG of the party. In fact, I myself went through some of these things when I was seeking the party ticket in Kandui. I want to assure you that for as long as Sifuna is the SG of ODM, if you win the party primaries, you will get your certificate.
Very good.
That one is given. Guaranteed. And when I tell them, people don't believe that this party has changed. City, I tell people, stop looking for an appointment with Sifuna. You want a ticket in Karachuonyo. What are you looking for me to do? Go to Karachuonyo. The people there will vote. They say, unajua ni vizuri tujuane. They come to my office, take photos, then they go on WhatsApp, say, Sifuna has endorsed me. Yeah? So that one is a problem we have addressed.
Coming to the end of the show.
Now, the other one,
10 seconds.
Audrey. He says that there has been a U-turn by Raila. Raila has not made any U-turn. In fact, we have been saying that debt in itself is not a bad thing. All countries, even individuals, they take up debt in order to run certain programs. The question is, what is the debt for? if the debt is going to be used for programs that then give back to the economy and we're able to pay for them, it is good. It is a good thing. You remember when we were asking about the Eurobond, where did this money go? Yeah. We want to be shown the programs that the money went into. That is the sort of debt that we say is
and
bad.
That's the oversight.
Finally, Latif, there's something I needed to say.
Goodbye.
Yes, as I say goodbye. I want Kenyans. You see, this conversation here proves one thing, that in fact we must vet everybody's proposal for what they want to do and how they want to do things when they get power. Because mtego wa panya hushika waliomo na wasiokuwemo. Sasa unasikia, there are people like now the deputy president doesn't want us to question his bottoms-up approach. We all need to understand that he understands what he's talking about.
Yeah.
How is this thing going to work? And then, when it goes south, it will be all of us.
Tosha. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, CT, for today's proverb, which is?
When you give credit to the great, I'm paraphrasing, you are actually paving the way for your own great.
All right. It's 10 o'clock. Have a lovely day. Here's the news.
Jimmy Wanjigi, who had opened a parallel ODM office in Murang'a, said that there were rules and regulations that the party followed when putting up offices.
We will no longer depend on people's benevolence. We are a party that receives resources from the public. So the expectation is that nobody should go and claim they have opened an office in Karachuonyo on their own. And then who will staff that office? Because I need my officials to be the ones staffing that office. So which is why you have seen sometimes we run into disputes with people who claim, oh, we are only popularizing the party. Oh, we want to help the party.